Sandy Sanderson, president of the National Club Baseball Association and founder. Appreciate you joining us this evening, as you're going to find it's going to be an eventful and insightful couple hours of time. We've been doing this meeting for many years now, and every year it gets better with more and more content and more interaction from you to contribute and make sure that we are educating everybody along the way. 2018 was a tremendous year for the NCBA. It was another year of tremendous growth, and we were able to expand to 308 teams within the league, the most we've ever had, something we're greatly proud of. One of the biggest endeavors we took on this year was expanding to a Division III level. For years we've had Division I, Division II, and now we offer a Division III level. And that platform was designed as a developmental platform for new teams coming on board to get their feet wet within the league, understand their operations. New teams that are just getting started, first-year programs can get their feet wet where they can compete on the field against peers, as well as provide teams that have had struggles in their operations to come down, reset, regroup, and build their foundation up for a strong, stable future. D3 has also brought along some more benefits to the D2 level with providing some stability within each region, the numbers of teams, the chances of getting to playoffs, the locality of teams amongst each other, and bringing about some stability in terms of just geographically, logistically, how far teams are traveling to play their conference series. Another great part of 2018 was our World Series, especially at the Division I and Division II levels. Both leagues, both World Series had just phenomenal national championship games. Penn State coming from behind in Division I to defeat East Carolina, our reigning national champion, on a walk-off base hit. And at the D2 level, for those of you that were able to attend, San Diego State defeating Pittsburgh State in front of a packed audience. Literally shoulder to shoulder, foul pole to foul pole, standing room only. It was an amazing environment, and honestly the best national championship game I've ever seen in this organization. I'm remiss to talk about our history a little bit and focusing on this meeting tonight. This is our 18th year. We just completed our 18th year of existence, and this meeting has been around since the beginning. This organization started with a first ever NCBA league meeting, and that took place in a hotel in McLean, Virginia. Just a couple of teams getting together, throwing ideas at the wall to see what would stick for a first year for a league, and look how far we've come with 18 years, going from 34 teams up to 308. The future looks bright, and I appreciate you being here tonight to learn more about our past, learn about our present, and to focus on our future to make this organization as best as possible. I'll now invite Christian Smith, Vice President of Baseball Operations, up to the podium, and he'll take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, for that great introduction. And thank you to all you tuning in live tonight. As Sandy mentioned, this meeting is interactive. So if you ever have any questions about anything, please write into the comments section your name, your team affiliation, and your question. We will do our best to answer that. We've got a lot of information to go over tonight, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Just a reminder, I don't know if the screen might be hard to read on the video feed, but you can download these slides from the headlines section of the NCBA website. You can go to the NCBA D1, D2, or D3 website, scroll down to the headlines section, and there will be a link there where you can download the slides so that you can follow along. And then just another reminder, if you want to ask a question, we encourage you to ask questions. Just type your name, your team affiliation, and your question into the comments section below the video feed. And like I said, we will do our best to answer that question. If we can't get any question or the answer for you while we're up here, we will certainly get it to you at a later time. Just to go over, we are located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you're ever in the Pittsburgh area, please feel free to stop by. We've been here for several years now. It is the NCBA headquarters. There's our address and our phone numbers if you ever do need to get in touch with us, and obviously our website. Just want to go over the agenda for tonight's meeting. We will meet the NCBA staff. We'll meet a lot of full-time staff. You'll actually meet a lot of them. A lot of them will be presenting tonight. We also will be talking about our volunteers that we rely on so heavily. We'll also be talking about the 2018 year, and that's last year, 2017-18 season we'll be talking about, and we'll call that the year in review. And then for this upcoming season, which we're really excited about, it's going to get underway here in a few weeks. We're going to show you what's to come and what to expect. Then we're going to go into what we call our breakout sessions. We'll talk about a ton of important information, a ton of important documents, a lot of sponsors, a lot of tournaments, all that kind of stuff. So like I said, just sit back, relax. If somebody can't tune in tonight, we will have this meeting archived, recorded and archived on YouTube. So if they can't make it and watch it live, we will have it recorded for them to view at a later time. But again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we hope you find this this meeting informational. So we are talking about the NCBA staff. This is the front office. The president, Sandy Sanderson, who you just met and had a great introduction. Myself, vice president of baseball operations. And you'll meet later tonight, Eric Curator. He's the director of Division II baseball operations, and he was also just promoted to director of marketing, so we congratulate him on that. The director of Division III baseball operations is Garrett Seamek. He just came on in February and was quickly promoted to Division III baseball operations head, and he also does team development. So if there's any new teams out there that are viewing tonight or watching the recorded version, if you're interested in joining the NCBA, please reach out to Garrett. He'd love to work with you to get you into the NCBA. And if you're even a team that might be struggling, Garrett's there to help you be a more successful program. The treasurer is Sandy Sanderson Sr. It is not a coincidence. That is Sandy's father. He works in the same building as us. He is the accountant, does all of our books, does a great job with that. The accounting specialist is Jeannie Krachala. You might see some emails from her. She's the one sending out the dues invoices, uniform invoices. If you're paying with a credit card, you're getting an invoice from Jeannie. So she does a great job with that, and we really appreciate her service. The sports information director is Jeff Connor. He will be up to present tonight. He's been doing a great job of getting information out onto our social media feeds as well as to our websites. He just started in May, and he's doing a great job. The Rawlings sponsor account manager is Paul Williams. He will be up later in this meeting. He will be showing you some different examples of jerseys. I know a lot of our teams order through Rawlings, which is great. They give great discounts. So Paul will be taking you through a lot of the different products that they offer and the discounts that they give to all you guys. The game sponsor account manager, the game headwear is our official headwear sponsor of the NCBA. Felicia Battaglia will also be up here later in the meeting to talk about the game headwear, all the discounts. I believe we are in a discount right now. So she'll be talking to you about how to order and get those orders placed so that you'll have your hats in time for your first games. Not only do we have a new bat, but we also have a new sponsor account manager for that bat. Marucci is our official bat. We just switched from DeMarini, and we're really, really excited to have Marucci on board. I know the teams are really excited about it. They're offering great products. Teams are able to get additional products at great prices. But we just put Alec Verhoff, who just started last week, in charge of that sponsor account, and he will be in touch with you. If you have any questions about Marucci bats, please reach out to Alec. His contact information will be provided to you when he presents later in the meeting. The Director of Spring Training Operations is Tracy Reardon, and she's also the fundraising sponsor account manager. She will be up here later in the meeting as well to talk about those two things. Spring training is a great opportunity. We're really excited to get that information out to you guys for any teams that might be interested in participating in that great event. And lastly, we got the Division I Rules Committee Rules Committee Teams Rep. His name is Dan Ibarone. It was his first year in this position, this past Rules Committee. And the Division II Rules Committee Teams Rep is Chad Lowe. His seat is up for election this fall. We will have more information about that out later this fall, and we'll be discussing it later in the meeting as well. And then last but not least, our Director of Umpires, Ryan Hastings. He's been around for a long time. He's been around since I've been around, which has been 12 years. I think maybe his first World Series that he did was my first year at the NCBA. So he's been around a long time. He's got a lot of great information. If you have any questions about umpires, maybe rules, Ryan's a great person to bounce those things off of. Now, as far as the D1 staff, we're talking about the D1 regional directors. The North Atlantic is run by myself. I'm very proud of the North Atlantic. We just won the 2018 NCBA Division I World Series. Sandy kind of touched on it. Penn State coming from behind in the bottom of the ninth to win the World Series, which I'm very proud of those guys. The Mid-Atlantic is run by Garrett Seameck. He just got put into that position, I guess, this summer. But he's going to do a great job, full-time guy that'll do great work out in the Mid-Atlantic. The South Atlantic's run by Tracy Reardon. She's been in the last few years. I know she was South Atlantic Regional Director last year. She's been doing great things. The Great Lakes, as of right now, that Regional Director position is vacant. So if you know, or maybe yourself, are interested in volunteering with the NCBA, please reach out to me. We rely so heavily on our volunteers. We wouldn't be able to operate without our volunteers. And it's also a great resume builder. If you're a young guy that maybe graduated playing club baseball and just graduated and wants to stay involved, it's a great way to stay involved. So reach out to me if that's something that you're interested in. The Gulf Coast is run by the infamous Ryan Norris, one of the greats. He's also the voice of Call Club Sports, does all of our D1 World Series games via the radio. He's been running the Gulf Coast for so many years now. He's just a great volunteer that we've had on board. I don't know what we would do without him, to be honest with you. The Mid-America is run by Evan Ford. He just came on last year, and he's done a great job, ran a great event out in Kearney, Nebraska for the regional. Has been really working well with those teams out there. The Northern Pacific, Dylan Howe, he just got started. We'll be introducing him to all the Northern Pacific teams here shortly. He's a former Washington State player, and he's really excited to be a part of the NOPAC as a regional director. And then last but not least is Zach Ramirez, another full-time NCBA employee that we just hired in the office not too long ago. He's from the California area, so he's very familiar with the Southern Pacific area of the country, so he was a great fit for out there. We know he's going to do a lot of great things. As far as Division II goes, these are also our regional directors. In the past, it's been district coordinators, but now our Division II guys are called regional directors, as they are in charge of regions and not districts. In the Chesapeake, you have Eric Curator. As you can see on the slide, he's looking for volunteers. Again, I'm not going to repeat it, but if it's something that you're interested in doing and becoming a volunteer and running one of our regions, please reach out to myself or Eric, because we're always looking for volunteers. The New England's also run by Eric Curator full-time. You have the Dixie run by Stephen Baker, the New Penn by Joe Schaefer, the Northern Plains by Jeff Bober. Gary Robinson is running the Great American, and then the Rocky Lone Star, again, Eric is the interim right now, but we are looking for volunteers. And lastly, the Pacific is run by Austin Mulaney. A lot of these guys have been doing this for a long time now. I know Steven's been around for quite a few years. Joe has just started a couple, I think, maybe last year he just started. So he's great in the New Penn, but we got a lot of great volunteers as well. Like I said, we're very happy to have them on board and wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. As we started Division III this past year, we also have those districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. With Garrett running Division III, he's in charge of the first 3 districts. He, again, is looking for volunteers. Something you want to do, stay involved, please reach out to us. We'd love to get you involved. District 4 has just recently been named to Alec. I don't know if he's been in touch with the teams in District 4, but if not, he will be in touch with you guys to introduce himself. Again, if you're just joining us or just need a reminder, you can download the meeting slides at clubbaseball.org. You can go on the D1 site, the D2, or the D3 site. Just scroll down to the headlines section, and there will be a link where you can download the presentation. Now, I want to get into this past year, 2017-18 season. We're going to call it the year in review, and we're going to look at growth. We're also going to look at rule changes that went in last year, and then talk about the realignment that happened last year as well. Now, as you can see on this screen, we show our growth throughout the course of the year. You see in 2001, we started with 34 teams, and now we're up to 308 in just 17, 18 years, which is incredible growth. We're very, very proud of that. You might also notice that we didn't have a ton of new growth from 17 to 18. We did add quite a few new teams, but we did lose some teams that were struggling. But we hope for the 2019 season that we will get back onto par with what we're normal with as far as growing about 15 to 20, netting 15 to 20 new teams each year. This is a slide we're pretty proud of as well. This is all of our state representation. 45 out of the 50 states we have a member university in. I believe the only 5 states we are not in is Hawaii, Alaska, New Mexico, Vermont, and Maine. It is our goal, and Garrett, as he's adding new teams, it is our goal to be in the lower continental 48. So hopefully we'll have that up to 48 in the next couple of years, if not sooner. So that's what we're really excited about. We also have the University of Windsor up in Canada. This graph is just to give you a little idea of where we kind of sit against other college baseball leagues. You see us right in the middle. Obviously, the largest is NCAA Division III. With opening up Division III just this past year, we did have 35 teams, so we're the lowest on that chart, but we expect that number to grow significantly this next coming year. So you see us right in the middle there, right behind the NAIA and right in front of the JUCO D2. So we're sitting nicely and expect to grow continually throughout the years. Now, I do want to talk about these rule changes, and keep in mind, just remember that these are rule changes that have already been implemented. These aren't the rule changes that were just passed at this past Rules Committee meeting that happened at the end of July. These are already in the rule book. So I just want to go over a few key topics that we want to discuss. The first one is that number 1, and I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but if you're following along, number 1, teams that play an ineligible player, it's not deemed an automatic forfeit anymore. It's subject to a forfeit. And we implemented some other rules regarding this verbiage, but basically it comes down to a lot of teams were saying if a player was not on the roster and he played, well, it's an automatic forfeit. Well, we changed it to subject to a forfeit, and you had to go through the proper channels of protesting the game in order for that to become a forfeit. So we just added some verbiage into the rule book. Another one is faculty. They are eligible to compete, but they must meet the eligibility requirements. And this one, in the past rule books, we just flat out said faculty members are not eligible to compete. Now, there's a lot of students that are deemed faculty, maybe work in the student rec center. They are deemed faculty. We just wanted to clean it up that if you are a faculty member, but you meet all the eligibility requirements, you're a full-time student, you have a 2.0 GPA, you're not on academic probation warning, that you are eligible to compete in the NCBA. Point number 4, unless mutually agreed upon by both teams and the regional director, a conference series cannot begin earlier than 8 a.m. local time on Saturday. We always allow the home team to determine when games are going to be played. The field, the times, the location. But we've had some teams come to us saying the home team saying we have to play Friday night at 8 o'clock. And we can't get down there, we have school. So we put in a rule that said you cannot start a conference series until it's Saturday, 8 a.m., unless you mutually agreed upon by both teams and the regional director. So if you both agree to play at 8 o'clock on Friday night, along with getting the permission from the regional director, there's no issues. But if there's no agreement, you can't start it before 8 a.m. on Saturday. Now, allowing NCBA-sanctioned spring tournaments to be eligible to be competed as 7-inning games as long as they are NCBA sanctioned. We put this rule in place because there were a lot of teams and individuals putting on tournaments in the spring, and they were counting those games as non-conference games. And the problem that came into effect was any single game between two college teams, NCBA teams, has to be at the Division I level, has to be played as a 9-inning game. Now, a lot of these tournaments were being played as 7-inning games. Double headers can be played as 7-inning games at the Division I level, but a single game between two teams has to be played as a 9-inning game in order for it to be counted as a non-conference game. So what we put in place is, if you are running these tournaments and you want these games to be deemed NCBA sanctioned, they have to fill out an application, send it in. If we agree to the application and say absolutely, then any single games can be played as 7-inning games. They don't have to be a 9-inning game. So that's something we put into the rule book this past year to help clean that stuff up. We did update the halted game rule. Should a visiting team tie or take the lead in the top half of the inning, this came into play, I believe, is in the Gulf Coast. It was, I believe, the bottom of the sixth, or excuse me, the top of the sixth inning. The visiting team was down going into the top of the sixth inning. They came back, tied up the game, and I even believe they took the lead in the top of the sixth inning. Weather came into play, and the game was called. Now, our rules before this stated that we go back to the last completed full inning after 5-4 have been played, which would have, even though this visiting team tied or took the lead in the top half of the sixth inning, even though they took that lead, we revert back to the fifth inning, which would have put the home team as the winner. So we just updated this rule, put this into play to protect those visiting teams from that. We got a question the first of the night. I'm nervous.
Larry Valdez Jr. asks, are there any special exceptions for any new coming schools that have no athletics, like Nevada State College?
I mean, if you're a team that wants to join our association, you have to be a registered student organization or club sport on campus. If you meet that requirement, then you are more than welcome to join our association. I hope that answers the question, Larry. But if not, we will get you an answer, a sufficient answer for you here at a later time. We also, getting back to the rule changes we put into this past year, we are capping the number of non-rostered players in the dugout to 4. We've had situations, and we saw it a lot at the World Series, where teams had, go ahead.
Larry Valdez Jr. also asks, is it possible for NCBA club teams to play versus NCAA Division I or NCAA Division II or Division III schools?
Great question, Larry. Yes. Our rules stipulate that our teams, our NCBA Division I, Division II, Division III teams, can play against any other college baseball team, whether it's NCAA Division I, NCBA Division AA, Division II, JUCO, community college, and count those games as non-conference games. As long as it is a collegiate baseball team, our teams can play those teams and count them as non-conference games. But getting back to the rule, we capped the number of non-rostered players to 4. And we just saw at the World Series a lot of teams with a lot of extra personnel in their dugout. People coming in and out, and we just wanted to make sure there was a number. You can have 30 guys on your roster. You can only have 4 non-rostered players also in the dugout at one time. So we just put a number on there. We did add courtesy runners, allowed for catcher only at the Division II level. I know that one was a pretty tight one, as you can see, 4 votes to yes. We also did implement portable mound requirements. I know a lot of teams are using turf fields where there's a portable mound. We have been notified that some of these fields have just the ramp, the turfed ramp, as the portable mound, which is dangerous. If you go off to the left or right as the pitcher, you can injure yourself. So what we implemented was requirements for a portable turfed mound. It has to have 4 sloping sides on it, just to help with preventing injuries. Go ahead, Alec. Is it from Larry?
It is from Larry.
Awesome.
Larry also asks, are there any other club sports organizations that are similar to the NCBA but for other sports?
Say that again. Read it again.
Are there any other club sports organizations that are similar to the NCBA but for other sports?
Yes, we have plenty. I mean, Cult Club Sports has, is a umbrella organization of NCBA falls under it. We have collegiate club basketball, we have collegiate club football, collegiate, what am I missing? Club softball. So yes, there are other collegiate collegiate leagues under the Cole Club Sports umbrella. We did, at this past Rules Committee meeting last year, we did change the makeup of the Rules Committee. We changed the makeup. Normally it was all 8 Division I regional directors were able to attend the meeting, along with the league representatives and the president, plus the team reps, the D1 and D2 team reps. It was a lot of people, so we tried, and a lot of times couldn't get all those people in the room at the same time. So what we did was streamlined it to Division I league representative, Division II league representative, Division III representative, the league president, the 2 team reps, the D1 and D2 team rep, and then elected Division I regional director, which brought us to 7. It got us all in the room together. It was a lot of great minds, so I think it helped out a lot of those topics that we were discussing. Another big topic that was tightly contested was keeping the Division II World Series dates the same, but move the regional playoffs back a week earlier. We'll discuss it later in the meeting, but we changed it back. It was more of, I guess, an experimental year, but we just took a weekend out of the season that teams could have been playing. We noticed that a lot of teams didn't get a ton of games in, so we did move that back, but that was something that was tightly contested, and we're excited that we're able to put in another week for the Division II teams. I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but you can certainly download the presentation and look at these rule changes, and if you have any questions about those, please let us know. Go ahead, Alec.
Larry asks, is it possible to create scholarships and administer athletic scholarships to club team athletes?
Absolutely. If that's how you're able to do it, if you're able to provide a club team scholarships, that's more on you guys. If you're able to do it, great. We allow scholarshiped club players to play as long as they meet our eligibility requirements. I want to talk about Division I realignment. Again, this was what we realigned last year. In the Great Lakes, we moved Ferris State to Division II and added the University of Windsor. I believe Ferris State was a team that met the auto relegation rule down to Division II. One of the stipulations for moving a team down is to bring a team up. The University of Windsor, who's been a Division II powerhouse in our league the last few years, we moved them up, and they did a great job at the Division I level. Lots happened in the North Atlantic. We lost Boston University, but we were able to put Sacred Heart into their place in the NAR East Conference, and added Loyola Maryland from Division II to the North Atlantic, and we also dropped SUNY Cortland and added Slippery Rock. So we added quite a few Division II teams to the North Atlantic. Slippery Rock was a great example. They made it to regionals this past year in their first year at Division I. They're a really, really well-run program. They won a Division II national championship the year prior, so they're a great program, and it just shows that our rules are working, that teams that are playing well at the Division II level coming up, they're competing. So it's a great thing that we have in place with our relegation and promotion rules. In the Northern Pacific, we did have Seattle University drop out of the league, so we just had to do some realignment within that conference. We moved Washington out of the north and added them to the west, and we moved Montana out of the south and added them to the north. We also added a new team, LDS Business College, which was a first-year program. Normally, we don't add new teams right into the Division I level, but for LDS Business College, they were a team that just didn't have any other teams close by to them, and the Division I NOPAC region was actually the best conference for them. Alec?
Larry asks, does the NCBA have any programs or assistance to colleges that want to move into the NCAA or NAIA?
No. No, I mean, I would say, if we've had teams that have participated in our organization and they have moved as into NAIA and I believe JUCO, but I would suggest joining the NCBA, playing some years, and if it's a move where you want to move into the NAIA or the NJCAA, that's you're more than welcome to do that. Getting back to realignment, the South Atlantic, we dropped Georgia Southern out of that region and put them down in Division II, and added Georgia Tech from the West Conference to the East. Just recently, we added them back to the West Conference. We did drop FIU out of the league, and we added Florida Gulf Coast, which was another powerhouse at the Division II level. And that we also added Mississippi State. Again, like LDS Business College, was a new team to our association. Obviously a bigger named program than LDS Business College, but they were in the same situation where there wasn't a lot of teams out in Division II that they could compete against. So the Division I was the better fit, and they did a great job in their first season as well. And lastly, in the Southern Pacific region, not a lot happened. We did drop Stanford down out of the North Conference to Division II, and we just added Cal State Chico into their place. And Cal State Chico, another team that made the regional playoffs in their first year at the Division I level. As far as Division II goes, I think I touched on it earlier, but one big thing is we did rename the districts to regions. With the opening of Division III, we wanted to get Division II on par with Division I or close to it. So one of the first things we did was make that switch from districts to regions. All 8 regions were comprised of 3 conferences, which is great because that allows for the at-large bid. In years past, we were not able to have an at-large bid because I believe all 8 regions, maybe it was all 7 regions, 7 out of the 8 regions had 4 conferences, which didn't allow for an at-large bid. 15 of the 20 previous D2 teams were moved down to newly formed NCBA Division III. So with the opening of Division III, we were able to take some of the teams that were struggling at the Division II level and move them down to Division III. Operationally, it just helps teams out to get down to a lower level and competing against teams that is suited against them. Florida Gulf Coast, Windsor, Slippery Rock, CSU Chico, and Loyola, Maryland, which I talked about in the Division I slide, all moved up to Division I. And as far as teams dropping from D1 to D2, we had Ferris State, SUNY Cortland, Georgia Southern moving from D1 to D2. We have another question.
A couple questions, actually.
Whoa.
Noah Murray asks, is there any discounts for baseball pants, belts, socks, or anything offered by the NCBA?
Was the name Noah?
Yes.
Absolutely. And we will be talking. Rawlings is our official uniform supplier of the NCBA. Paul Williams will be up later in the meeting, so Noah, make sure you stay with us. But he will be going over all the discounts, all the products offered. It's incredible pricing. So yes, we do offer a lot of discounts, baseball pants, belts, all that kind of stuff.
And then Larry asks, when a new school with no athletics comes into the NCBA, are they confined to a certain division, or can they go directly to Division I competition?
Well, I believe Nevada State College is where Larry is talking. We have a Division II region out that way. If you were to join the NCBA, you'd be placed in Division II. I'm assuming the Pacific South Conference is what you'd be placed on. So I think we can confirm that. But I believe you would start in the Division II level. If you're successful at the Division II level, we can move you up to Division I. But first year program, you would start at the D2 level. Any more, Alec? Good. How to ask a question. Type your name, your team affiliation, and your question in the comments section, and I will try my best to answer that question to the best of my ability. Now, 2019, this is exciting. Our season's about to start here in a couple of weeks. It's crazy how quickly it's come upon us. Feels like we've just finished up our season, but it's exciting. Lots of things going on. So we're going to talk about what's to come. Some of the topics we're going to be discussing tonight, we're going to be talking about the new teams coming on board. this upcoming season. We're going to be talking about the D1, D2, and D3 realignment for this season. We're also going to be talking about the Rules Committee and the new rule changes that will be implemented for this upcoming rule book and this upcoming season. And then we're going to get into our breakout sessions where we're going to be talking about a slew of different things, but all important. So we got 5 new teams officially signed to participate in the 2019 season. While that number may seem low, we do have, you'll see on the next screen, the next 2 preceding screens, quite a bit of interest from other schools joining. But the 5 new teams we do have on board: Creighton University, the University of Houston Downtown, which we're expecting to be a great program, Abilene Christian University, which is also down in the Texas area, or the Gulf Coast area, Millersville University, and Hobart College. Alec?
All right, we got a long question here. It says, our club team went 0-18 last year in our conference versus ASU, SDSU, and GCU. We tried changing conferences to have an easier schedule but got denied for special reasons. We believe a rule should be in place where a team struggling as bad as we did should be able to compete against different teams. Thoughts?
What team was it? What team are they with?
Does not say.
They were 0-8. Well, I mean, my first thought would be, what was it? Read the question again for me, please. Who are the teams he was competing against?
ASU, SDSU, and GCU.
Yeah, I mean it's a good division you're in. Unfortunately, we don't have a Division III conference or region out that way. I'm assuming this is a Division II team. Our hope, as Division III gets larger and larger and larger, is that we will span the continental United States and we will be able to open up a region in your area, which we can put other teams that might be in your situation where you're not competing, where you are competing, because I do know that going 0-18 is not good for team morale and things like that. But it is our hope, and teams just we just have to ask for patience that we can open up Division III out in your area. In the meantime, I would just keep plugging away with just boosting team interest, and those are things we'll be talking about later to try and get those numbers up and hopefully have a competitive roster.
Nicholas Strong asks, what is the minimum amount of teams needed in a region or district for Division III?
We're probably, I would say we need at least 3 teams in a conference, but we need other conferences. So I would say we would need to get at least 6 teams down in that region in order to start a Division III. I know Nick has quite a bit of interest from teams at Houston Downtown. I would say get those 30. I believe it's 33 is the allowable number at Division II. Get those 33 guys on your roster. Keep the other guys interested. Maybe they be a JV team to your program. They can still play our teams, but keeping them involved. And if you're successful at the Division II level, which we expect you to be, Nick, we can get you up to Division I, and all those players that we didn't have a place for at the Division III level, we can get them into Division II to take your place now that you went to Division I. So I would say, to answer your question, we would need at least 6 or so teams to start a conference. Getting back to new teams for this upcoming season, we have 21 new teams expressing interest in participating in the 2019 season. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you can see that's a nice number. So we expect a lot of those teams to become teams that are verbally committed, and maybe hopefully teams that officially compete in the NCBA for this upcoming season. Garrett's doing a great job with that, so we're really excited about where we are right now. Now, as far as Division I realignment for this season, these are the types, and realignment at the D1 level and the Division II level is pretty much done, and D3 is kind of solidifying itself as well. At the Division I level, this is the realignment that took place for this upcoming season. In the Gulf Coast, we added Houston Community College from Division II to the East Conference. The Gulf Coast is an area where we and especially in Division I, we need teams. And to talk about Nick Strong at Houston Downtown, you know, if you're a team that's competing and goes to regionals, maybe World Series, maybe wins a national championship, we'll be asking you to move up to Division I because it's an area that we do need some teams. Go ahead.
Back to Larry. He is wondering if it is possible for a college to join in the spring and compete in the spring.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you want to join, if you need some time to, get things together, we can certainly try and add you in the spring. It's chances of getting in the spring. It is tougher just because at that point conference schedules will be released. And our protocol is if you join after the conference schedules have been posted, we have to put it to a vote, and it has to be a unanimous vote. All the teams that in the conference that you would be placed in have to admit you to the conference. So it's not easy, but we can certainly get you in if the spring, or try to get you in. If the spring is the earliest that you can, get paperwork in and things like that, we will do our best to get you in. If we can't get you in the spring, we'll have early discount periods of joining and can get you in for the 2019-20 season. Mid-America, we dropped Moorhead and Kansas State down to Division II. We added South Dakota State from Division II to take Moorhead's place in the North Conference, and Truman State from D2 to take Kansas State's place in the South Conference. So Truman State and South Dakota State, two very good programs at the Division II level that we're excited to get moved up. Moorhead was a team that was struggling at the Division I level and asked to move down, and we were able to give them that permission to move down with the addition of Truman State and South Dakota State to the region. Go ahead, Alec.
Larry wants to know if the NCBA has a summer program.
We do not have a summer program. Our season ends at the end of May, and as far as playing summer ball, I know most of our guys go home and probably play adult league baseball, but no, we do not have any summer programs. In the Mid-Atlantic, we dropped George Washington to Division II and added Longwood University from D2 to take GW's place in the North Conference. We're really excited about that move. In the North Atlantic, we dropped Hofstra to Division II and added St. Joe's to take their place in that East Conference. St. Joe's is a team that has been to several regional tournaments consecutively. I think even maybe made a World Series recently, maybe even this past year. In the South Atlantic, we dropped Vanderbilt from the West Conference to Division II, and we moved Georgia Tech to the East Conference, from the East Conference to the West Conference to take Vanderbilt's place, and we added the University of Tennessee from Division II to the East Conference. And I'll get to you here shortly, Alec. In the Southern Pacific region, we dropped St. Mary's College and the University of San Diego to Division II and added San Jose State from D2 to take St. Mary's place in the North Conference, and San Diego State, who was the Division II national champion from D2 to take the University of San Diego's place in the South Conference. As far as potential realignment that we're still hoping to get to, University of South Florida is a Division II team. They've expressed tremendous interest in moving up to the Division I level. We want to get them into the Division I South Conference in the South Atlantic. The only holdup right now is adding a new team in the Florida area to the Division II, which is Florida International University. So hopefully we can make that change here shortly. And then lastly, it's the Northern Pacific region. We're still waiting on a couple LPAs from teams that I've been in contact with, but there's just going to be some small realignment, maybe deleting a team and adding a team to a conference, but very minimal realignment at the NOPAC this year.
Larry's got a couple questions here. He was wondering if it was possible for NCBA teams to compete versus other teams in the fall.
Say it again.
He was wondering if NCBA teams could compete against other teams in the fall.
Yes, yeah. We have a fall season. For teams out west, they are spring only. They can certainly compete in the fall. They won't be counted as NCBA sanctioned games. It's an off-season baseball game in teams out in the California, Nevada area. But yes, teams do compete in the fall, and they can compete against other NCBA teams.
He was also wondering would it be possible to create a summer program in the future, and what it would take to compete versus indie ball teams?
I'd suggest sending us a proposal. We can definitely take a look at it and see what it entails. But, for us, the summer is a time where we're closing out budgets, and, there's certain things we have to go through in order to close our seasons out. So I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but again, please send us a proposal and we can take a look at it and see if it would work. At the Division II level realignment this upcoming season, we moved South Dakota State, Truman State, San Diego State, St. Joe's, Tennessee, San Jose State, Longwood, and Houston Community College from Division I to Division II. I'm really proud of that, and I know a lot of our other employees in the office are really proud of that. There's a culture brewing where teams want to get to the Division I level. That's the carrot in front of their face, so to speak. So we're excited for those teams that are excited about getting to the D1 level. It just shows that teams are working to do whatever they can to get there, and that's a long list of teams. Every single team we reached out to and maybe approached about moving to Division I, they were so thankful for the opportunity to get up to that level. Some teams, at the D1 level, they needed to move down to D2. It was what's best for their program. They weren't competing, and we were talking about that team out in California that was 0-18. We hope at some point we will have a Division III conference out there where we can, move you down to teams at your level. But yeah, we're really excited about our auto promotion, our auto relegation rules in our rule book. They've been working and paying dividends to teams, and that list is great. We love to see those teams that are eager to get to the D1 level. As far as teams moving down from D1 to D2, it's no knock to them. It's what's best for their program, and in some cases, it's what they had to do. Moorhead, San Diego, Hofstra, Vanderbilt, George Washington, Kansas State, St. Mary's all moved from D1 to D2. Our hope is that they succeed. They figure things out. They're competing. More players are coming out. Success breeds interest, and so teams are excited to get out and play, and they compete. And again, they're coming back to us, say we want to move back up to D1. So that's what we're hoping, the culture that we're breeding. So we're excited about it. At the Division III level, Adrian College, New Hampshire, and Newman all moved up from D3 to D2. And again, that's other teams that are just eager to get to the upper level. Adrian College is a team that won the Division III national championship this past year. New Hampshire was the team they were competing against in that national championship game. So these are teams that we're excited about moving up to Division II and hopefully moving up to Division I at some point. Aside from the teams moving in and out of Division II from D1 and D3, 2018 and 2019 featured the fewest moves ever needed with realignment. The reason for that is Division III. Division III, what that did was solidify Division I and especially Division II. In years past, Division II, it was moving all kinds of teams around, whereas Division I, it was just moving a couple pieces here and there. Well, this year with the opening of Division III, we saw Division II was really, really solidified, and it was our quickest realignment meeting ever. So it's showing that Division III is working. We're excited about it. We'll be talking more about Division III here shortly. Go ahead.
Larry asks if there's any age limit for players. Yes.
Well, technically, you have to have enrolled. You have to have been. You have to have been enrolled as a full-time student before your 25th birthday. A lot of people think, well, I'm 25 years old, I can't play. But if you enrolled as a full-time undergraduate at the age of 23, you are eligible to compete as long as you're within that 6-year window. But yeah, so there is an age limit, but not really. You just have to have enrolled as a full-time student before your 25th birthday. As far as Division 3 district realignment, this being our first year, or just having our first year at D3 this past year. This year, we're excited about some moves as well. We touched on New Hampshire and Newman moving up to Division 2. Colgate, LaSalle moved down from D2 to the North and South conferences respectively, and Seton Hall dropped out, and Millersville was added to the South. In District 2, we moved Adrian to Division 2. They won our first ever Division 3 national championship. And we unfortunately had Toledo Division 3 team drop out of the league. Richmond and American also dropped out. Again, these are programs that we're just struggling, and hopefully we're keeping in communication with them that we can work their kinks out and get them back into the league for future seasons. In District 4, we have Milwaukee School of Engineering was moved from the South to the North Conference, and DePaul came down from D2 to the South Conference. Still, like I mentioned earlier in the meeting, Division 3, we still have some potential realignment brewing. Hobart will be added to District 2 East once new team paperwork is finalized, which that just happened. So, assuming they are now in the District 2 East. Louisville will be added to District 2 West once their new team paperwork is finalized, and more district realignment will be expected as more renewal LPAs are turned in. I'm going to rest my voice for a little bit. I'm going to reintroduce Sandy Sanderson, the President and CEO of the NCBA, to talk about the Rules Committee meeting. He will be discussing the Rules Committee meeting that happened this past month, or July 22nd or July 28th, I believe. So these are really important to pay attention to. These are the rules that will be going into the rule book this upcoming season. So I'll turn this portion over to Sandy.
Thank you, Christian. Great job. All right, folks. I'm gonna talk about the Rules Committee meeting that just took place. The Rules Committee has undergone a little bit of a change this past year. At last year's meeting, it was determined to shrink the committee a little bit. It was previously designed of 11 members. It was brought down to 7 members now. There's a D1 elected teams rep. Just like the President of the United States, we go through an election process. Teams, we accept nominees. Candidates step up and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this position." They run for it. The members of Division 1 voted, and they they elected Dan Iavarone from Tulane as the D1 rules rep. So he's a officer for Tulane, obviously, and he now sits on this panel representing the D1 teams. Chad Lowe, the head coach of Ohio State, was elected to the D2 as the D2 rep. And they serve 2-year terms, and the D2 Rules Committee representative is up for election this fall. No idea yet if Chad intends to rerun for re-election or if there'll be a new candidate, but stay tuned. Christian and Eric will have that information out once we get through the scheduling process, and into the fall we'll start looking at who's going to be the new D2 Rules Committee representative for the 2019 meeting. Again, the committee is made up of 7 members. It's the head of Division 1, the head of Division 2, and the head of Division 3. That's Christian, Eric, and Garrett. And then myself, I'm on the committee. And then the D1 and D2 elected officials. And then at the D1 level, where we used to have all the D1 regional directors on the committee, we've now shrunk that down to just one. And the D1 regional directors each year pick one of their members, or one of the regional directors, to serve and vote on their behalf for the committee. And this year, that was Ryan Norris representing the Gulf Coast.
Larry wants to know if the coaching staff has to be involved with the school, or can they be volunteers?
They can be volunteers. That's the school's discretion. So the committee met on the 28th to discuss, debate, vote, and establish any changes to happen to the rule book from the 18 season moving forward to the 2019 season. Throughout the year, this committee meets just once a year, but all year long they're collecting information from the teams, proposed rule changes, and things of that nature. So throughout the year, the way the process worked, teams would either contact Christian or Eric or maybe their regional director, or they'd go straight to their specific division elected official and propose changes. Hey, we'd like to see this proposed as a change. Here's why. Give their reasoning to it. Everything that a team has brought up over the course of the entire year was discussed at some level at that meeting. Now, not everything got voted upon. Sometimes, someone, let's say the D2 rep would stand up and say, hey, a team proposed this. I don't support it. Nobody else in the room supported it. It just got moved on. It wasn't even. It didn't get a single person in the committee that supported that change, and so no vote was taken. Now we're going to discuss some of the things we did vote upon or did discuss. One of the things that was proposed is we currently have a rule that moving players from D1 to D2, or you're limited to 3. It was proposed that be changed, that instead of moving a player up or down, that they can be dual rostered, both on this is for schools that have both a D1 and a D2 team, such as Penn State, Ohio State, Illinois, Grand Canyon, Arizona State, those kind of teams, where they have a Division I and Division II team. Instead of only be limited to 3 moves, they'd be allowed to have 3 players rostered on both teams. So basically a kid could play on Saturday on the D1 club team, Sunday on the D2 club team, next weekend on the D1 team. That did not get approved at the D1 level. It did get approved at the D2 to D3 level. So for a school that has a D2 club and a D3 club, they could have 3 players that are dual rostered on both teams. This was got support at this level because with D3 being so much more about developing schools, developing the team, we thought it would be an opportunity where if a school had enough guys to form a D3 team also, but were like a little short, they could have 3 guys from their D2 team also be on the D3 team just to give them enough bodies to continue to play. One of the things in the rules that was approved was for conferences comprised of only 3 teams, that they would play in their conference schedule would consist of a 3-game away series and a 3-game home series. In the past, it was set up for 3-team conferences that they would play a 3-game series and a 4-game series, vice versa, like maybe 3 on the road, 4 at home versus an opponent, and switch the next year. That was approved. We don't have too many 3-team conferences. I don't foresee we'll ever have them again in Division I or Division II, but it's very possible as Division III expands into the future. There was a proposal to change. Christian talked earlier about how we put a rule into place last year that you're allowed no more than 4 non-rostered personnel in the dugout at any time. It was proposed that be increased to 5. That did not get approved, so that will stay at 4. One of the things that was clarified that was brought up this past season was, if one of those non-rostered personnel, assuming they're a coach, were to get ejected, can the team bring another non-rostered personnel member into the dugout to replace that one of the 4 that got ejected? And the answer is no. The next game you could, let's say that person received a suspension, couldn't serve in the next game. For that next game, you could then bring in a 4th non-rostered dugout personnel. But for the remainder of that game following the ejection, now you're down to 3 non-rostered dugout personnel allowed. For courtesy runners for the catcher with 2 outs and an inning, it was proposed that we add courtesy runners to the D1 level. That was unanimously shot down. One of the other things that was brought up was to remove the re-entry rule at the Division II level, and that was approved. So moving forward at D2, there will no longer be re-entry rules. So that is a big change. So D2 teams, put your thinking caps on, your managerial caps on, and realize, now that you make changes, when you pull a guy out, he's done for the rest of that game. Little piece of housekeeping in regards to our, for years, our official uniform, we have the official cap, the game. Everybody has to wear the game. Everybody has to have the NCBA logo on that game cap to be, uniform legal on the field. One of the things that was approved unanimously was to make it mandatory that NCBA logo be centered on the back of the hat, as well as be a specific size, which will be listed in the rule book. The reason this was, it was sort of assumed before, but we found some teams were going outside and getting the NCBA logo put on the side of the hat, or they'd get it put up in a rather large fashion that almost looked like a gaudy billboard. We're trying to create a uniform, clean, crisp NCBA look on all the headwear. It really looks great when it's done right, and so we just officially documented in the rule book that it does have to be centered in the back of the hat and be this specific size that everybody else is wearing. With every type of rule like this, what's the consequence for a violation? It was determined that if the logo is in the wrong spot, a team that is found having the game hat, they still have the right hat, still have the NCBA logo on it, but it's the wrong size or it's in the wrong location, and they're caught using that, then they lose their performance bond. Regarding protests, one of the items that came up regarding protests, a few years ago we changed to the protest rules regarding roster violations. Previously it was, at the time that you detect that there's a roster violation, at that moment you have to protest or you lose your chance to protest. We changed it a few years ago that you now have to file the protest before the first pitch. So if they hand you a lineup card at pregame and there's somebody listed on it that's not on the roster, that was your only opportunity to file the protest for the game. What was changed about that was basically the flaw in that was that if a team A was using an illegal player and you didn't find out about it till, say, the second pitch of the game or the second inning, technically that player was legal to play the remainder of the game. The committee discussed and debated it, and we agreed, hey, you should have checked this before the first pitch, but at the same time, once it's identified, that guy shouldn't be allowed to continue to play the game. So now the way the rule is, if a player is found ineligible after the first pitch, he and the manager for that team are automatically ejected for the remainder of the game. However, everything that player has accomplished in the game up until that point where he was identified as being ineligible and illegal, that still counts. So it's not like, the guy singled in the first inning and we go back and replay that, or, there's still the onus on the visiting team to check the lineup card, make sure everyone's legal. But now, if it is identified after first pitch, that player and that manager are ejected for the remainder of the game. Question, Alec.
Nolan Rodman asks, with the re-entry rule for D2, does that mean no pinch runners / hitters?
You can still pinch run, you can still pinch hit, but that is an official substitution. So if Alec goes in to pinch run for me, I'm done from the game now. So there's no, there's still the opportunity to pinch run, but it is an official substitution now. And bear with me 1 second. Eric, do we have courtesy runners in D2? So there still is the opportunity to courtesy run, but there is that is still eligible. You can still courtesy run for people in D2. But the idea of, hey, we got a big lead, I'm going to put Alec in left field, and when that lead shrinks, I'm going to put Christian back in left field. You can't do that because Christian would be done for the game upon that substitution. Good question. Where was I? Rule 2308. We have in our rules that if a D1 team playing a D2 team, or if a D1 team forfeits to another D1 team, they lose their performance bond. The question was, what if a D1 team is playing a D2 team and the D2 team forfeits? The D2 team lose their performance bond. And yes, that has been approved, that now, for D1 and D2 teams, if they forfeit a scheduled game, they lose their performance bond, and that performance bond goes to the regional budget of whoever is offended by that forfeit. So that could be a D1 performance bond going down to a D2 regional playoff if a D1 team were to forfeit to a D2 team without playing. A little bit about streamlining our regional playoff process, our regional playoffs for D1 and D2, the 4-team playoffs. There was a lot of debate on day 2. Do the winners of day games 1 and 2 play game 3, or do they play game 4? And it's in the past they've mostly played. It's been that the winners of games 1 and 2 play game 4 of the regional playoff. Now it's been passed that they're going to play game 3. So basically, winners on Fridays will come back, play first game on Saturday. The idea being, whoever loses that game does not have to play the immediate next game. Sticking with the regional playoff theme, especially at the D1 level, within regionals for D1, the games are always scheduled as 9-inning games. However, there's an opportunity if weather creates, if some sort of situation creates where the games need to be shortened to 9 innings, it can be done if the regional director feels that's necessary in order to get the entire regional playoff tournament in. There was a lot of debate on how do we get that consistent. When games are 7, when games are 9, why one region is shortened and why one region has not. One of the things we did pass as a new rule is that if weather or other circumstances, because we've had crazy circumstances. This past year we had an active shooter at somewhere near the SOPAC regional in California that required us to not play any baseball on Friday. So it's not always just weather, is my point. But if there's a chance that the regional playoffs the schedule gets skewed and a team potentially could have to play 3 full games in one day, then all games scheduled for that day, whether that team competes in them or not, now move to a 7-inning format. Another thing with the regionals, in the past we've all, it's kind of been, does the 1 seed play the early game on Friday? Do they play the late game on Friday? It's been varied from region to region. Now it's going to be uniform where the number 1 seed actually gets their choice. Who they play is not their choice. That's all, mathematically calculated. But the number 1 seed going into regionals will get the choice. Do they want the earlier game Friday or the later game Friday? It was proposed that we change our wording regarding performance bond loss, that teams could be hit for their performance bond for sort of not arbitrary is not the right word, but discretionary reasons. If a team is just operating in a manner that we don't see fit, that we should be able to take their performance bond. We did not agree with that. We felt like because we're dealing with money, it should be a specifically stated reason why a performance bond could be lost. And so, for example, one of the things that was approved is, failure to show up to a postseason is a loss of your performance bond. It doesn't happen very often, but there's an example. If a team were to clinch their regionals and not go, their performance bond would be lost for that. The movement of D2 regionals, I think Christian touched on it, that last year we experimented with moving D2 regionals up a week earlier in April. It ended up not being as positive as we would have liked, because basically what we did was we shortened the spring season by a full weekend, and that's often the best weekend of weather for a lot of teams. So we've moved it back to the first weekend of May, which will grant everybody another weekend of conference play in the spring, and hopefully more teams will get more of their conference games played in if there's bad weather in D2. On top of that, we had a rule in place in D2 where to be postseason eligible, you had to compete in at least 2 non-conference games on top of your conference schedule just to be eligible. Meaning, if you went 15-0 but didn't play any non-conference games, you still couldn't go to the regionals. That rule remains intact. However, it has been approved. It has been lowered to 1. So teams now must play at least 1 non-conference game in order to be eligible to make the regional playoffs. Another change in D2. This is sort of with the growth and development of Division III, where we're trying to now make D2 a little bit more like D1. We've changed our requirements for batters' helmets and coaches' helmets in Division II. It was basically you just had to have them. Now they must match in color. So no more at the D2 level, no more one guy coming up with a red helmet, one guy coming up with a blue helmet, one guy coming up with a green helmet. That everybody, all the players must have matching helmets. Base coaches for that team, the base coach helmets must match each other too. This is a rule we've had in Division I for years. It looks good. You know, the finish, the optics of the product look great at Division I level. It looks legitimate like college baseball, and we want to now bring that more to the D2 level too and hold them to higher standards. Additionally, this year with D2 teams are going to get their option of eight batters helmets every year with their membership, or a set of catcher's gear. So they're going to have the opportunity, if they don't already have matching helmets, to just, hey, we're going to pick batters helmets this year and get ourselves in sync with these new rules. There was a small wording change to Rule 401, removing the word invitational. This is regarding, as Christian talked about before, how tournaments can become NCBA sanctioned, in which they can then count 7-inning single games. They were previously advertised as invitational tournaments. Now it's really any tournament. It doesn't have to be an invitational. Regarding, there was a little bit of a rule change approved regarding the halted game rule. Basically, in the instance where a game is halted and it needs to be picked up, if the two teams the next baseball they play with each other needs to be the finish of that first halted game, not the start of game two. You can't be like, we played half of game one, it got halted, now we're going to start game two and then we'll finish game one, or start game two, play game three, then finish game one. No, the first thing that needs to happen is we finish game one. In the event that the two teams don't do it that way, then whatever they played basically doesn't count and needs to be rescheduled until they do finish the halted game. A rule that's going to be coming down the pipeline, you'll see it in the rule books. I'm sure it'll be highlighted and earmarked that it doesn't go into effect till the 1920 season, so it's not in effect this year. This is the D1 rule, but effective 1920, catcher's gear, color of catcher's gear must match the uniform or be white, black, or gray. So the idea being, again, we're talking about the optics of the league, looking legitimate to our fans, our spectators. We get it. You know, some kids come out of high school, played at a high school that was purple. They have purple catcher's gear. Now they play for Colorado State, who's green and yellow, and they stand out like a sore thumb with their purple catcher's gear. Well, effective 1920, that purple catcher's gear, if you're on Colorado State, doesn't fly anymore. You need to be in white, black, gray, or whatever the team colors are. And again, the teams have the option to select catcher's gear as part of their membership every year. So by 1920, they'll have the opportunity to pick a new set of catcher's gear that's in line with this. That same rule is also going to go in effect in D2, but not till the 2021 season. All right, well, that's it for the update on our rules meeting that took place a couple weeks ago. Christian, I'm sure, will have the updated rule books out in the next few weeks, and he'll have all the changes highlighted for everybody, and we'll be good to go there. So thank you very much. I'm going to introduce Christian and Eric back to the podium. They're going to tag team the next few slides.
Thank you, Sandy. Yes, we will be tag teaming the breakout sessions. First and foremost is session 1, which is titled Team Operations. We're going to be going over a lot of important documents and things like that, so please pay attention. If you have any questions about any of the things we go over, please let us know. Again, just to remind you, if you do want to ask a question, to type your name, your team affiliation, and your question into the comments section of below the video, and we will do our best to answer that question. So we're going to be going over several different documents. The first and foremost being the League Participation Agreement, what we call in the office the LPA. This is probably the most important document in our association. It's your ticket to play in the league. It's basically a contract stating that you are going to be a participating member of our association for that year. Due dates are July 1st every single year. So if you're looking to renew your membership for the 1920 season, it'll be due July 1st. I know most of you have already got those turned in, but for any new teams out there, any teams that need a refresher, we need to have the team president sign that, as well as a faculty member sign off on that, and it can be scanned and emailed to us by July 1st.
Yeah, moving forward, registration form, this is very important to us and you just as much as well. We need to have your updated contacts for the year. As the year turns, usually new guys will take over the team. We need to know who to be sending emails to. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of emails early on about your schedules, your schedule request forms, your free equipment for the year, your baseballs, your bats, all that stuff you want. We just want to make sure we have the right guys. It's important to us to get that information to you. It's also important for us to give you your advisors, just in case anything big comes up or anything of that nature, and some of them like to just be included anyways. So all that information is really valuable to us and you as well.
The schedule request form. This is a form that's current right now. All the teams that have played in the fall have received it. We have their conference schedules out. But as far as teams that play spring-only conference games, they're going to be receiving that schedule request form if they haven't already. I know at the Division I level, they received that today. The schedule request form is what we use to put the conference schedule together. So it's a form that you fill out and you let us know exactly when you can play, when you can play home games, when you can play away games. It basically helps us put the conference schedule together. It's extremely important in the fact that a lot of teams just fill it out really quickly, send it in. We put the conference schedule together and they come back to us and say, hey, we can't play this weekend. And then we usually direct them to their schedule request form, let them know you said you could play this weekend. And at that point, once the conference schedule's out, it's official, and now it's up to you guys to work with your opponent the date that you can't play to try and get that rescheduled. And if you can't get it rescheduled, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to forfeit. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely important to have your academic calendar out, have your other officers filling it out with you, to make sure to go week by week to let us know when you're able to play. So that's, like I said, coming out to teams now, might even be in your hands. So if you have any questions about how to fill it out, please let us know.
Yeah, the big thing on that is just being as thorough as possible. The more information you provide us, the better, because we have more things to put together and know what you guys want. So definitely be as detailed as possible on those, so we can help you get your most ideal schedule. So.
The General Liability Insurance Certificate. This form is available online under the documents section, and that's something I want to kind of talk real quick about, kind of go off script here. A lot of these documents, people ask us, I get emails at least all the time saying, hey, can I get the General Liability Certificate, or can I get an LPA or registration form? Those are all listed on our website, clubbaseball.org, under the documents section. You can download them. They're there year-round for you to download. Obviously, if you want to reach out to us, we can get them to you, but I think the website and the documents section especially is very underutilized. But the general liability insurance policy is something that every single team in the league that's a member is covered under. Covers you from liability of accidents. Keep in mind, this is not a medical insurance policy. If you're playing and you slide back into first base and you break your pinky, you can't go to the ER and show them this policy. It's not a medical insurance policy. It just waives you guys from any liability if an accident were to happen on field. Another big perk with the liability policy is that if you're reserving a high school field, a Parks and Rec field, 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, they are going to ask for a liability insurance policy and be added as an additional insured. If you have no idea what that means, no problem. Just reach out to us. We will get them added as a third party to this insurance policy so that you're able to compete on those fields. Alec, did we have a question?
Yeah. Austin Sizemore wants to know, as far as ejections go, does uniform attire, for example, helmet discoloration, play a factor?
Yeah, at the Division I level, you have to have matching batting helmet colors.
And I believe it's starting in Division II this year as well.
So you have, all teams are getting or have the opportunity to get batting helmets with your membership. So that's a great opportunity if you have some guys that have mismatched helmet colors. Probably best when you're filling out the equipment survey to choose batting helmets, because if you do have different batting colored helmets, you will be deemed out of uniform.
And it goes even further into your pants, your jerseys, the trim, how you're looking head to toe. Division I's a little more strict. Division II is just as strict, maybe a little less. So you're going to want to make sure you're up to date on the rule book, reading everything, so you can be in compliance and not get called out.
And we'll have, like Sandy said, we'll have these updated rule books put together. I think we have a meeting on Wednesday to get those released. So
sure, later next
we
week.
will have those released.
Reserving fields. The big thing is definitely start early. Once your schedule comes out, do not procrastinate. Contact your opponents once the schedule is released to set dates and times. You guys have a lot of planning to do. You guys are doing it all yourself, so you want to get an early jump on that to make that easier for you. Especially, you don't want to do it last minute. You don't have a field. You have to secure umpires. All that can come back to bite you, and you will be forfeiting that series. So get on it early. Once that schedule comes out, start planning. Start reaching out to all your contacts to get that ball rolling. And as Christian was just saying too, the additional insured, sometimes that's a process. So if you know you're going to need it, get out to us early.
Yeah, I mean, it's first point is don't procrastinate. As soon as that schedule comes out, talk to the Parks and Rec, the AD at the high school field that you're using, and if they need insurance, additional insured, we can get them on there. But yeah, certainly get your fields reserved ASAP. Same thing with scheduling umpires. Soon as you know the schedule's out and you know when you're going to be a home team, the home team's obviously responsible for securing umpires for their games. Reach out to your local assigner and make sure he's on the books for your games. Another big thing is not just to reserve him and be done with it. Make sure you're contacting that umpire 2 weeks before, a week before, days before the scheduled game time, just to make sure that they are going to be officiating the games, because we've had teams say, hey, we had them scheduled and they just didn't show up. Unfortunately, you're liable and could potentially forfeit those games. They just have to be high school certified. So the easiest way of securing those is to talk to the local high school around college and talk to their athletic director or baseball coach, get a email or phone number for their assigner and talk to them. But most U teams have relationships with the local assigner that you don't need that. But for new teams, that's the best avenue to go.
I think it's very important to also add, they have to be high school certified. You can't just assume they are. We've had protests in the past, and teams have ultimately had to forfeit games because they've had umpires who they assumed were high school certified, but they were not. So don't assume it's going to be that way. Do your due diligence. Ask questions and make sure you're in compliance.
You want to take it?
Sure.
Go ahead,
Team manager access and online player registration. A lot of info here. Pretty easy. We'll break it down for you, but we're also going to be sending out emails in the coming weeks, coming month, for you fall teams especially, about this roster process. So at the beginning of each year, the team manager will need to request team manager access from the NCBA. You're going to be hearing from myself, if you're a Division II team, Christian Division I team, Garrett Division III, with all these instructions. The first step is getting that team code. How do you get it? Well, you need your team manager access. So your coach, your president, whoever it may be, will need to request that access from us because we give it to him. And then he can log in from there and see the team code, go ahead and distribute it to his players, and the guys from there can start signing up one by one.
Yeah, that's the first step is getting that team code. Once the players do get that team code, they can go into the login portion of the website. If they're an existing or returning player, they log into the existing or returning player login. If they are a new player to the team, they will log in with the at the new player login tab.
Just to keep it moving, you're good on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So players, once you get that team code, you'll start filling out all information. We recommend be as thorough and detailed as possible. Pay attention to what you're answering, because that stuff will determine your eligibility. You don't want to lie. It will come back to you and the team, so that wouldn't be good for either one of you. Just be thorough. It shouldn't take you very long. They're simple questions. Just be accurate.
Another thing I'm going to piggyback off your comments.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, whenever a player registers, they automatically assume I'm on the roster, I'm good to go. That's not the case. Once you register, you go in what we call a registration queue. It's kind of like a holding cell, so to speak, where you are sitting in this registration queue. You're not on a roster. You're kind of sitting in this holding pattern, so to speak. We'll talk about the academic eligibility letter here shortly, but once you register, you get through that registration process, you are not on the roster just yet. You're a step closer, but not there yet.
Yeah, and lastly, upload your picture, your bio, make it look good, especially if you win Player of the Week. You get awards later on in the year. Your picture will be represented on the front page of the website. It's professional looking. It makes your team look better, and it helps the NCBA too, so it's good for all parties.
And last thing about this, with the picture and bio, those are things you can log back in and update. As far as your eligibility, you only get one chance to do that. So that's another thing, is making sure that you answer correctly the first time, because once it's in there, it's in there. You can't log back in and redo it. So make sure to do it right the first time. Coaches' participation waivers. If you are a non-player coach, you have to fill out a coach's participation waiver, and it's just a 2-page document. You put your medical insurance policy on the first page. You fill out a little bit of information on the second page, sign it, and send it in. We just need to have that on file just for liability and purposes mostly, but we need to account for you as well. You're not allowed in the dugout until we have that coach's waiver. So again, if you are a non-player coach, you need to send that into us. Again, that is available on the NCBA website.
Moving forward, the academic eligibility letter, which we talked about earlier. So you registered for your team, you're sitting in the registration queue. How do you get activated on the roster? You need to show up on this academic eligibility letter. Basically, we have 2 formats available on the info tab, as Christian's been mentioning. It must be signed by the registrar, faculty advisor, or club sports director. Basically, the faculty at your school will review all the names on there to make sure they meet all of our eligibility requirements. Make sure you check out, they will sign it, and then we need it. The big thing, which you see in bold here, is it must be sent directly to the NCBA by the club sports director or faculty advisor, unless the letter features an official university or registrar stamp. That just proves...
Why is that, Eric?
It proves that it was in their hands at one point. It's scary to say, but we've had teams forge this in the past before to try and clear some players who they know are not going to meet those eligibility requirements, and they think, hey, if I sign this guy's name, it looks legit. We caught a couple teams doing it. Now we had to make a rule saying it's either coming from the school directly or it has that stamp or seal, which only the school can reproduce anyway. So that shows us it's coming from the school. What you need.
It's a lot of teams it's not just trying to clear players that aren't ineligible, it's just trying to clear the team in general. A lot of teams procrastinate, wait till the last minute. Taking that form to the registrar, in most cases, takes a week, maybe even 2 weeks for them to go through each player and check their academics. So it takes time. So make sure that you're getting this letter sent in at least a week, I would say 2 weeks minimum, to the registrar, so that you can get it into us beforehand. We've had teams, like Eric said, wait till the last second, and they're forging signatures. That's a big problem, not just with the league, but we turn that over to the school, and that becomes a school problem. So it's making sure you're just doing this on time. All this stuff is so simple. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. But the academic eligibility letter is something that's very important and needs time. You need to take your time on it, and it takes time to get to us. So make sure that you're not procrastinating. As far as uploading player stats and team information, that is the team manager. They can log in. When a team manager logs in, they have 2 forms of site access, the team manager access and the athlete access. In the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a button that says View Site As, and you can toggle between athlete and team manager. In order to enter stats, team information, game information, it's very self-explanatory, but you need to be in team manager access. You click on the game. There's a stats button. You click the stats button. You enter the stats. It's very simple. For games, you can enter game information like the location, the date, the time. That can all be entered into the website. So we really encourage team managers to get into log in to the website and update this information. Obviously, stats. You need to be, and I think at the Division II level now, in order to win Player or Pitcher of the Week honors, you have to have the entire team stats up from that past weekend. It's just encouraging teams to get their stats up. A lot of teams don't utilize it, but you get the stats up, your name's on the ticker showing home run leaders, ERA leaders, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to get that stuff uploaded. So definitely take advantage of that.
You can't cheat the system by just putting the one guy's stats in too.
Yes.
We got a lot of teams doing that. Hey, I nominated this guy. His full stats are up, but I didn't do the rest of the team.
Yep.
You got to put the whole team on there. So, yeah, as Christian was saying, Division I and Division II teams this year. Got to do it. Entire team. How to ask a question. Type your name, your team affiliation, your question in the comments section right next to the video there. We'll answer it for you.
Keeping with the team operations section, weekly team submission form. This is a form that teams are submitting to us after their games are played. So on Monday, you play a game that weekend. On Monday, we're going to be requesting you send in the weekly team submission form. This just lets us know the scores of the game, and it also gives you the opportunity to nominate 2 pitchers and 2 players of the week. Us as regional directors will collect all these weekly team submissions. We'll post the scores to the websites, and then we will select who we think is the best player and pitcher of the week in each conference, and we'll post that player on the website. But this is something that even if you're not playing, it might be a good habit just to send it in to your regional director and say, hey, we didn't play this weekend. Here's our weekly team submission form. Even though it's blank, it's just a good idea to get in the habit of sending it in, because every Monday we will be requesting you fill it out. It takes a few minutes. You're able to give your guys some recognition by filling out the Player and Pitcher of the Week awards. But yeah, it's something that we'll be sending out here shortly now that the seasons come into play. Again, another document that is listed on the website that you can download, save to your computer, and use week after week.
NCBA dues. A lot of questions of, what are we going to get with our membership? So with your membership, you get those 2 Marucci certified bats. You get 6 dozen Rawlings NCBA game balls for D1 teams, or you get 6 for D1 teams and 5 for D2 and D3 teams. You get our general liability insurance policy. If you're a D1 or D2 team, you get the option of 8 batting helmets. Wow. Or 1 catcher's gear. And your dues for D1 are $2,100, and D2 $1,850, and D3 $1,625. Those are all due by February 28th. But a nice way to save some money, if you pay them by December 31st, you get $100 off. Great fundraiser right there. Save some money. Boom. Credit cards are accepted, but we do an online handling fee, just as anybody else would do. And the invoices and receipts available through our accounting specialist, Jeannie, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have been seeing invoices for already. Just be on the lookout for those. If you haven't seen it, check your spam, check your junk folder. Sometimes I go in there. But the bottom line is you definitely need to be on top of your dues and pay those on time.
Now we want to get into just team interest, team morale, things like that. First being boosting team interest. I hear it a lot. I'm sure Garrett, as the new team development, director of new team development, hears it quite a bit, is how do I boost team interest? We see sometimes teams can't play. We don't have enough guys this weekend. Well, why is that? We try and give you some options, some ideas to boost that team interest. The first being, just about at every single college, at the beginning of each semester, there's usually a student involvement fair, club fair, student organization fair, where you can get a table set up and the incoming freshmen or any interested students walk through, get their contact information. That's the easiest one. Putting flyers up, doing the grassroots way of going about it, putting flyers up around campus, pull tabs on the bottom with the president's contact information. The bottom line is you just want to get your club baseball team's presence known around campus. Maybe it's talking to the student newspaper, putting an ad in the student newspaper, getting a Facebook group page. Social media is huge. So there's all kinds of different avenues, but obviously the bigger presence you have on campus, the more people are going to be interested. So take advantage of those ideas. I'm sure there's other ideas out there. I would encourage any teams to comment in the comment section on ideas that they may have about boosting team interest, what they do in order to get teams or players interested in their team. So I encourage you to use that comment section to do things like that.
Yeah, so boosting team morale. Get the team together off the field as much as you can. I feel like that's a no-brainer. More teams need to do it. Social events, the group activities, all these situations where you guys can, build more relationships and, get to know the guys better will lead to more success on the field. Spring training trips, which Tracy will talk about later, is a great way to do it. Something different is sending route assignments on the road to break up the cliques. Put the seniors with the freshmen. Mix and match guys so they're meeting new guys and not just the same group of guys who are always hanging out together to avoid those cliques. Looking good can make players buy into the club philosophy faster. Coordinating hats, helmets, uniforms, and practice gear can go a long way. The more professional you look, the more desirable somebody will want to join your team. Being organized will give opponents the impression of strong leadership while instilling pride in your team to compete with confidence. Yeah, arriving, you all look the same. You got, team vans, choreographed warm-ups. You show opponents that you take things seriously. Take away that stigma. This is intramurals. This is club sports. It's a big deal. You guys put a lot of effort into it, a lot of time, a lot of your resources, your personal money. So, do it big and, look good. Go ahead.
Budgeting. Obviously, it's important to set an accurate budget. Garrett, the director of new team development, I think that's a big question with new teams. Budgeting. How are we going to afford this? I think even Garrett has a sample budget that he can send you. It's pretty general, but it does its job. It's important to set a budget. What are my revenues? What are my expenses going to be? How can I generate more revenues? Fundraising, player dues. What are my expenses? Uniforms, travel costs, hotels. Setting that budget, knowing exactly what's coming in, what's going on, so that what do you need to do more of? Maybe you were at a loss and we need to fundraise more. It's making sure you get a set budget because it's very important for the success of your program.
Yeah, one of the last points is, definitely budget for the postseason tournaments every year. You have to assume you're going to make them because once you do, you're going to need money for them. So assume you're going to make them, and worst comes to worst, if you don't, take that money, roll it over to next year, and let the group next year have a head start with their finances. Player dues, like Christian was saying, how much do you charge? Well, you need to budget. You need to figure out where you got money coming in, where you got money coming out, and how you're going to make up for it. So how much to charge is definitely a big question that you need to figure out as well. What is included? Are you going to spring training? How much traveling are we going to do? How many times are we going to need hotels? Are we going to need new uniforms, new hats? These are all things to take into consideration when thinking how much money you need coming back in. More included, the higher dues. Supply and demand, if you have lots of interest, higher dues, that's just going to be a good problem. So definitely think about that as well. Make them pay as soon as they make the team. You don't want guys hanging around who haven't paid. That's the worst thing you can do. So
Slugs.
Yeah, make them pay as soon as they make the team, and if they don't pay, don't let them play. Don't let them touch the field. Players who practice for months and then fail to hand over a check hurt the team financially and chemistry. It's going to piss off other guys too, so make them pay. Charge for tryouts. A lot of you guys are probably paying for field time anyways, so why not charge the guys who are trying out for your team? It's just an easy way to make some money too.
Team equipment and uniforms. Paul will be up here. Felicia will be up here later to talk about uniforms, hats, things like that. One of the big things I'm sure they'll talk about is there are lead times, there are manufacturing times. It takes time to make these garments, these hats. So making sure to order early, and we incentivize you guys to order early by giving you discounts for hats.
It's $2 off.
$2 off.
15th.
I think with the uniforms, it's a 10% discount higher, better if you order early. So make sure to order early. It's the smart thing to do. Things happen sometimes, so it's best just to order early so that you're taken care of. As far as hats go, a lot of teams say, well, I don't know my exact numbers yet, and I'm going to wait until we have our team set so I know exactly what hats to wear or hats to order, how many hats to order, what sizes. With the game, there's so many options as far as flex fit, where you can order extra, and the ones you don't need, sell to dad. Use it as a fundraiser. Kids lose their hats. Have extra on hand. So we always tell you to order extra. Pants, jerseys, they rip. Make sure you have more on hand that you can give your guy if he slides into second and rips his pant. As far as game balls go, order more. You're getting 6 dozen at D1, 5 dozen at D2 and D3. But sometimes if your field is eating foul balls, can't find them, you can go through, 3 dozen in a weekend.
And you have to have them.
and you have to have them. You
Yep.
can't play without them. We don't want to give a forfeit to a team because they don't have official game balls. So just order extra. They don't go bad. They can move, give them to the team next year if you have some left over. The minimum that you can do is get quotes from these guys. Maybe you don't like Rollins uniforms. You're not required to wear Rollins uniforms, but at least get a quote from Paul. Contact Paul and say, how much would this uniform? You can design the uniform. How much would this cost? You might be shocked at how inexpensive these uniforms are. So at the very least, contact our sponsor account managers to get a quote. They'll all be up here to explain their products and what they oversee, but just generally speaking, order extra, order early.
It's an easy way to save money, too.
And it's an easy way to save money.
Guide to Collegiate Club Baseball. We have a great asset for you guys. We've launched a new updated format. It's with Prezi. It's really easy to use. There's a lot of beneficial things for you guys to absorb, especially for new officers, new teams. Some of the things that we'll talk about, concepts and goals of the NCBA. We assist with the development of new baseball teams. We talk about recruiting, includes reference manuals to NCBA league operations. We'll give you the insight on that. And we'll assist with the improvement of member team baseball operations. Yeah, we'll do it all for you guys. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of great things you can take from it. Absorb it as much as you can to benefit you guys in the long run. Some of the chapter titles, for instance, is what is the NCBA? How do I start a team at my school? How do I join the league? How do I operate within the NCBA? Making your team better, fundraising and sponsors, And these chapters can be downloaded on the Documents tab on our website. So there's no excuse for you guys not to utilize them. A lot of great information in there, and it's only going to benefit you.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, very underutilized document. We've updated in the past. It was this long Word document, and we've updated to try and make it more user-friendly. We have titles like, what is the NCBA? Maybe you're like, I know what the NCBA, I play in the NCBA. But it's utilized for a lot of new teams can get a ton out of it because it explains everything. But it's also good for teams that have been around, new officers, but teams have been around to just get a quick refresher. It's a document that's continually being updated. A lot. I mean, it's updated quite often because we have new hires, so they're being put in. So I think Garrett does once a month updating it. So it's a continually updated document, but it's something I would definitely recommend taking a look at. Last but not least, in the team operations section of these breakout sessions, we have the timetable, and this is just going to give you a rundown of the 2019 season. Obviously, July 1st, that was when the renewal renewal LPAs for D1, D2, and 3 were due. Tonight, August 29th, is the 19th annual NCBA league meeting. August 3rd and September 3rd, schedule request forms were due. I have an asterisk by there because that's kind of up to the regional director or the head of the league to kind of determine, but those are kind of about when they're due. August 14th, August 17th, that's when we're shooting for the conference schedules to be released, August being the fall teams, and then September being the spring-only teams. But again, that's flexible there. September 14th, fall conference season begins, which I don't know. I mean, it's 20 days or so away, which is crazy. November 11th, that's when the fall season concludes for the teams that are eligible to play in the fall. December 31st, the annual league dues are due with the discount. And then if you want to take
I'll take the second half here. February 1st and 15th, the spring season, conference season begins. So that's when you can start playing your NCBA sanctioned game, your conference games. February 28th, the annual league dues. Hopefully you pay them by 12/31 to save that $100. But if you don't, pay in full by February 28th. The entire month of March, we're going to talk about it in a little bit here, but the NCBA Spring Training Showcase in Plant City, along with, we're going to have a West Coast, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. April 15th, the roster freeze. That's a big date to circle on your guys' calendars because your rosters are official at that point. You can't make any changes to them after that. So keep that in mind. April 28th, D2 and D3 regular season concludes, which goes right into May 5th. The D1 regular season concludes. May 3rd through the 5th, the regional and district playoffs. That's within D2 and D3. May 10th through the 12th, we have the D1 regional tournaments. May 17th through the 19th, we have our Division III World Series. 17th through the 21st, our Division II World Series. And then the 24th through the 30th, our Division I World Series.
Hey.
And then the year's over.
Yep.
We'll do it all
Then we
over
start
again.
over again.
Yep.
Now we're going to get into session 2. I'm going to leave Eric up here to talk tournaments and championships. I'll be up in a little bit to talk Division I stuff, but I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So this section, we're going to talk some team invitational tournaments, some fall tournaments. We've been talking about the spring training showcase. We'll go in a little more depth on that. We'll talk district playoffs at the D3 level, the Division III World Series, our Division II regional tournaments, our Division II World Series, and then on D1, regional tournaments and World Series. So these team invitational tournaments, they've been used as a successful fundraiser for many teams. We always recommend contact us. You know, we've been putting baseball tournaments on all over the country for, 18 years now. We have relationships pretty much all throughout the country that we can help you utilize, whether it's facilities, umpires, the CVBs within the cities that can, help attract the business to them. They want you there as well. So, come to us. We'll help you with securing sponsors, getting hotels, finding umpires, facilities, all the above. Reach out to us and we'll make it happen for you. Some of the fall tournaments that we're running in-house by full-timers here, the Greenville Fall Invitational. It's in Greenville, South Carolina, November 2nd through the 4th. It's the 7th annual. We'll have 12 teams, and Garrett and Tracy within our office will be running that. I believe it's full, but reach out to them if you want to get on the waiting list, if you have any interest to get involved. Wood Wars in Euless, Texas, October 19th through the 21st. It's 16 teams. It's an all-wood bat tournament. Ryan Norris, one of our volunteers, runs it, and it's a production. It's a great event. It's the 10th annual this year. He puts a lot of bells and whistles into it. I know it fills up very fast, but reach out to him if you want to get on the waiting list and get involved. Battle Creek Blast, myself and Joe Schaefer will be running this. It's in a month, September 21st. It's the 4th annual. We'll have 12 teams. It's filled up, but we are taking waiting lists, so if you're a team interested out there, it's in Battle Creek, Michigan. If you're in the area and you want to play in this fall tournament, just let us know. We'll get you on the waiting list. The Butler County Classic, it's multiple fields all throughout Pittsburgh, just north of it. It's 8 teams, all wood bat. Christian Smith runs it. It's the 22nd through the 24th. I think it is full, but reach out to him if you have any interest. He'll get you on the waiting list, and you guys can be the first team to pop in there if somebody backs out. We're looking to host one out west and currently getting the details together. Stay tuned. You guys out west, you guys are always asking about fall tournaments and opportunities out there. Well, it's in the works, and just be on the lookout for it. It's time to talk some spring training showcase. We'll bring Tracy Reardon back.
I'm the shorty in the office, so I need a step stool. Okay. Hello, everyone. As Eric just said, I'm Tracy, and I'm the director of the Spring Training Showcase for both the East and the West Coast. For this past year, 2018, we had 60 NCBA teams participate in 4 weeks down in Tampa. We had nearly 150 games played within that month, and 66 of those games were played in 5.5 days during week 2, which was our busiest week ever with 28 teams. So everyone who was in that week knows how crazy and hectic it was, but it was a really great 5.5 days. Rawlings free agent team was actually comprised of the Northeastern team and some of our staff here. I think they really enjoyed being able to come down even if it wasn't as their whole team, and they were able to play a bunch of games against teams in the league. Our sponsors this year were Hooters, the Press Box, Duke's, Beach Bar, and Circle K Subway. Circle K Subway is always a fan favorite. They have a really great deal for our teams. In between games, it's right across from the complex, so it's a great place to go and get some food while you're waiting for your next game to start up. Every team will get discount VIP cards for all of the players and coaches, as well as some of their family and friends that come down. It will get them the discounts that we have secured with our local sponsors there. And Red Bull is also one of our sponsors. They donate some of their products for us to give out to you guys that come down. We do get really great accommodations and rates for you guys. The area in Tampa is just a perfect pocket to experience spring break, whether you want to go to the beach, you want to do a day trip to a theme park, you want to go to an MLB spring training game. It really is just a great environment to bond as a team on and off the field. This is going to be the second year now that we're individually contracting the hotels so that we can get you guys the best rates possible. Florida and Tampa specifically are very hot during the spring break time for college kids to come down, so we do try and get you guys a variety of rates as well as the best rates possible for accommodations down there. I mentioned this yesterday, sort of, when Christian and I were talking on Suite 301, but 18 teams who participated at either the East or West Coast Spring Training Showcase made the postseason. 5 of them made the World Series in their respective divisions, and we had a champion who was Penn State. So Wisconsin, Iowa State, Penn State, Pitt State, and Metro State all got to their World Series in their respective divisions there. Just some more details about the event. The showcase provides a really great spring break atmosphere, just reiterating a little bit. It could be very relaxing if you'd like it to be, or you can really gear it around baseball and playing games. It really is up to you to customize how you'd like to spend your week down in Tampa. You get to know guys on other teams, network a little bit, and you get to kind of bond as your own team with new players coming in for the spring semester. You get to play a lot of teams that you wouldn't normally get to play during your regular season, and it's a great way for you to get in your non-conference games to make you eligible for the postseason. And we would love to have the Rawlings free agent team again, so if you're interested, always contact Garrett or myself. This was our second year out in Henderson for our spring training out west. CMU, Montebello, Idaho State, Metro State, and Denver all participated. The costs are the same and will be the same for this coming year. Registration fee, $100 with the discount, $175 without, $125 per game. We have a performance bond that is refundable as long as you guys meet all the requirements that we have in our tournament guidelines. And each team will provide 3 game balls per game that they would like to play. All NCBA rules will apply, and the games do count towards your overall record and stats. Like I said before, it is really a great way to get your non-conference games in. Moving forward to this year, we have renewed with Tampa for the 2019 Spring Training Showcase for the East Coast. Costs, like I just said, will be the same, and you will get your performance bond back as long as you complete the exit survey and follow all of our tournament guidelines. Registration is now open, which is exciting and crazy that we're going through this already again. We already got Bowling Green's registration paperwork last night, so they're the first team to be registered for the 2019 showcase. That's very exciting. Lodging, like I said, last year was the first year we moved away from a third party and back to individual contracts, so we're going to do that again because it worked out a lot better and it was a lot easier for our member teams to make their reservations. Like I said, no longer using a third party, the rates will be lower. The hotels are aware of the blocks, and it'll make the reservation process a lot easier for teams. A lot easier to schedule your stay, and the hotels that you stay at help keep the game fees low for all the teams who participate. So that is why you're supposed to stay at the host hotels. Travel, rental car, and vans through Avis. You can get the under 25 driver fee waived as part of the NCBA sponsorship. So it's also a really great deal for you guys traveling from up north with a big group of guys. And I will hand it over to Garrett Seamek, who is our D3 extraordinaire.
Hi, as Tracy said, I'm Garrett Seamek, the Director of Division III, and I'm going to go over the district playoffs and how everything works at the Division III level. In 2018, we did a 4-district playoff system because there's 4 districts in each in the Division III, and the way it works is the best 2 out of 3 series between each conference winner. And then our goal is moving forward as D3 expands more is to follow a same format as Division I and II with 4 teams in each one, and the winner of that goes on to the World Series. The 2018 World Series was held in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. This was the first and inaugural year of the D3 World Series, so we only had a 1-year contract at Showers Field, which was an excellent all-turf facility. The Hampton Inn was our honorary host hotel. We had 4 teams that represented there: Adrian College, played a fantastic season, went the distance. They beat New Hampshire in the championship game in a 4-0 shutout to clinch the first ever Division III national championship. And like Eric mentioned before, they've gone up to D2 now to hopefully compete for the Division II national championship. Now for the 2019 World Series, we're currently looking for a neutral location to host the event. We're still talking with the boys about possibly returning, but we're exploring all options. So if any of you teams out there now know of a great place that's preferably all turf, but we're open to anything, please shoot me an email, garrett.cmac@coldclubsports. I would be happy to listen to you, hear your recommendations, and then reach out and see if we can try and work something out. This tournament is May 17th to the 19th. It's going to be a 14 double elimination tournament hosted over the weekend. And as teams grow in D3, which we're hoping in the next year or so, we're trying to expand to a format just like D2 and D1 are. So with that being said, we're going to move on to D2 with Eric Curator.
Thank you, Garrett. Some of the same stuff will be going on here, the playoffs within our Division II league. 2018, we had 8 regional playoffs. All 8 had a neutral site. We're always open to recommendations, so if you know any good fields out there that you either grew up with or by your college or maybe on your college, on your campus, let us know. We'd like to use them too. All 8 regional playoffs featured 3 conference winners and 1 at-large bid. As Christian was saying earlier, that's big for us because it gives all the second-place teams an opportunity to make the postseason. So we're happy we did that last year, and we'll have it again this year too. The NCBA covers field costs, game balls, and umpires. So all you guys got to do is just show up and play, which is the important thing. You shouldn't worry about anything else. The teams receive discounted hotels that we set up for you guys, championship plaques, obviously the opportunity to play postseason baseball, and the opportunity to compete for a regional championship. We've got to update that, and eventually a national championship as well. So the 2018 D2 World Series, we were in Pittsburgh, Kansas for the 4th year, and Sandy was saying it was probably the best NCBA championship game he's ever seen. The championship was JC Ballpark, turf infield. The Lamplighter Inn and Suites and the Regency Inn were outstanding host hotels for the event. They had great rates, great accommodations for our teams and the staff. They worked out great, and hopefully we'll get to use them again this year. Pittsburgh, Kansas is a college town, Pittsburgh State, who ironically was in the event. But yeah, great restaurants, great nightlife, things to do, because it is a college town. So it's nice for the teams that are traveling in and the families that are coming with them. They have things to do around the city when they're away from the ballpark. And one of the biggest things for us is, the first thing I usually touch on when somebody asks me why Pittsburgh, Kansas, the great local sponsors and support. The city of Pittsburgh gives us a lot of resources to use without the city to make the event bigger and better every year. They want us there. They want to keep us there. So they really do everything they can to keep us happy, keep our teams happy, and keep everybody within the event happy. So we're very excited to be with them, and happy we're going to be with them in the future as well. Team assistance for attending the World Series, you can see the last couple of years it's kind of stayed around $5,500. This pot of money is prorated that we give out to the teams based on travel. It's not like a revenue sharing or anything of that nature. It is strictly, dependent on your distance away from Pittsburgh, Kansas. One question I've been asked recently, why has it stayed the same and not gone up? We're actually very happy it stayed the same, just because Division II has decreased in teams this past year. About 30 teams were moved into Division III. And with that, the revenues are not as high as they used to be, so we're stretched a little thinner throughout the budgets, but we were still able to keep that number the same for those 8 World Series teams. So we're very happy about that. In the future, we'll look to keep it growing, but the important thing is it's not decreasing, and it's, something nice that we can offer you guys to, help offset the large amount of expenses that you guys are dealing with, whether it's your flights, your hotels, the rental cars, all the above to make the trip a little easier for you. The 2019 World Series, as I was saying earlier, we're back in Pittsburgh, Kansas. It'll be our 5th straight year. We just re-signed with them for a 2-year deal, so this is year 1 of 2. For that, some of the factors, the field availability, a big thing for us is we need exclusive use to a field for about a week, and that's hard to come by no matter if the field's nice or not. It's hard to get sole use of the field. We need to have flexibility within the weather or other things going on too, that we can be flexible within our game times and whatnot, so it's nice to have exclusive use. So that's a big factor. Obviously, the quality of the field, JC really checks out for us because it's turf. It's a little bit weatherproof. It's great to avoid delays or anything of that nature, moving games around. So it's a nice asset for us. It has lights. We can play night games. I feel like that's a given. It's geographically located centrally in the United States, which is another plus. The rental cost to help keep our expenses down, to put more resources back into the event to help the experience for you guys is big. The local attendance, which we really saw last year. Pittsburgh State qualified, not only qualified but made the championship game. So we saw all throughout the week the local fan base coming out to support their team and watch college baseball, which was great for us, great for them, great for the city. So a lot of great locals that are very interested in baseball, which is good for us. As I was speaking about before, the eagerness of local organizers, the city really puts a lot of emphasis on us. It's a smaller town, so they have to do that to keep us happy. We're happy being there. It's not like if Las Vegas doesn't need us, Dallas doesn't need us. These big cities that could host our events, we would just be something small on their radar. But with Pittsburgh, Kansas, we're one of their bigger events, and they really put the resources towards us to help make the event better. Track record, yeah, this is our 5th straight year there. So we've had 4 years before this to determine our happiness there, and it's been higher than ever. We're happy, and we're going to continue being there for the next couple of years. We'll move on to the D1 postseason. We'll bring Christian Smith back.
I'm back. We're going to talk about D1 regional tournaments. As Division 3 and Division 2, we're always looking to make this the locations of the regional tournaments at neutral sites, and not just neutral to the teams that historically make it to the entire region. We're trying to find neutral sites for these locations. I think we do a really, really good job with that. We map all the teams out in Google Earth and try and pinpoint locations that are geographically neutral to all the teams. We do that at every level, D1, D2, D3. Of course, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but in most cases, we are geographically neutral to all the teams in that region. Obviously, there's a lot of cities that express interest. With a 4-team tournament coming in, that's an economic impact to their location. So we do get interest from cities about hosting these events. All of these are 4-team tournaments. D1, D2 are all 4-team. Division 3, they are 2-team tournaments, but we hope that with the growth of Division 3 that we will get to a 4-team tournament there. Teams receive the discounted hotels. Our goal when we set up the regional tournament is to find a discounted hotel for the teams. Not only discounted, but a guarantee hotel. A lot of times we're in a big city for a regional tournament and hotel rooms are sparse. We're signing the deal so early in the season that the rooms are guaranteed and teams are able to get a hotel room. They're guaranteed a hotel room at a discounted price. Teams aren't paying for field costs. They're not paying for umpire costs. We provide the baseballs. It's just the travel costs that the teams are responsible for these regional tournaments. And the ability to, the opportunity to compete in a postseason, it's an awesome thing for teams joining our league. You're not just playing for bragging rights, but you are playing for something. If you do, I know specifically in the Great Lakes, there's been talk about moving it to more geographically neutral location, and I've been getting some recommendations from some different teams about some options, and we're looking into those options. But if you have a field maybe in your hometown or close to campus that you really think would be a great opportunity for a regional tournament, send it our way. We'll take a look at it, I promise you. We are moving more towards turf fields, but we will certainly take a look at any field that is recommended to us. In regards to this past 2018 World Series, I will argue with Eric that this was the best World Series to date. Maybe even better than the 2017 World Series, but this year we had another walk-off single to get for Penn State to win the national championship. So it was an incredible atmosphere. It was an incredible game. But it was in Holly Springs, North Carolina, which is right outside Raleigh, North Carolina. It was the second year of a 2-year contract, which means the contract is up right now. All games were played at Ting Stadium, which is formerly known was North Main Athletic Complex. Ting Ting Communications bought the naming rights to the stadium. We did offer practice facilities at Womble Park. Nothing special, but they got the job done. Teams that, maybe had an off day got to go to get some practice in at the practice facility at no charge to them, of course. Homewood Suites was the official host hotel for the 8 teams that stayed there. They know it was an absolutely beautiful venue to stay at. Great rooms, great rates. It had free dinner at night from like 5 to 7, so it was just all around a great fit for our teams. Obviously in Holly Springs, you're right outside Raleigh, North Carolina. There's going to be great food, great nightlife, a lot of things for teams to do. Again, the city just rolled out the red carpet. These past 2 years, we've had the highest number of sponsorship dollars come in to the association, and we put that back into you guys. You'll see in the travel stipends that we were able to increase those this past year. But again, just to touch on the championship game, another incredible game. Coming off 2017, which we all argued was probably the greatest national championship game in the history of the NCBA. This year was Penn State walking off in the bottom of the ninth to claim the 2018 national championship. Here is a breakdown of the Division I World Series travel stipend. You'll see in 2017 we did increase it $500, and that was strictly due to the fact that we had sponsors come on board. We passed that money right back into your pockets for travel. So this year we stayed steady. It was one of those years where we didn't increase the sponsorship dollars. Hopefully we will be next year. Wherever we go, we are. We'll talk about in the next slide, still up for discussion on where we are going in 2019. But that gives you a little history of the travel stipend breakdown since 2001, our first World Series. As I briefly mentioned, 2019, we do not know where we are going yet. We are still in negotiations. I'm currently talking with Holly Springs right now about 2019 and beyond. The 8 teams, or I should say any team that participated in the last 2 World Series knows how amazing that venue is, how gorgeous that venue is, how privileged every team was to be playing on that field. I mean, it was an incredible venue, incredible city, incredible nightlife. So we're hoping that we can get things back in Holly Springs for 2019, but obviously it takes 2 to tango, and we're trying to figure some things out right now. But we should have a decision here, I'm hopeful, in the next couple weeks. We have a couple other proposals on our desk of cities that want to host it, so stay tuned. In the next couple weeks, we hope to have an announcement of where we are going in 2019. For me, I am going to pass it now on to, I believe I'm going to be passing it to who? Tracy. It's going to be Tracy. We're going to be talking about sponsors and fundraisers, all the different sponsors that we have to offer. You can see, just some logos of the different sponsors we'll be talking about. But first up, we will be talking fundraising with Tracy Reardon and the fundraiser sponsor.
Sorry, short. As Christian just said, I am the fundraising sponsor account manager for our sponsor with fundraiser. Kind of a tongue twister. That's my contact information, my email. Basically, I assist the teams in our league with their fundraising goals, whatever they may be, by promoting our fundraiser platform on all of our social media accounts. I'm the point of contact for our day-to-day operations in regards to fundraiser. Our contact Daryl over at Fundraiser is also a great resource, so if I can't answer something right away, I can forward things on to him and he will have an answer to you within a day. What is Fundraiser? It is the official fundraiser of the NCBA. This past season, 17-18, our teams collectively raised almost $55,000. It's an online fundraising platform for any budgetary need that you might have. You can start a campaign online completely free. You can share it on Facebook, Twitter, your team pages and websites, through email, just to reach as many potential donors as possible. And you can invite players to share the fundraiser and make it a friendly competition within your team to see who can raise the most money. All you need are an email address, a verified PayPal account to get started. If you have any other questions about it, you could just get in touch with me and I'd be happy to answer for you. How to ask a question. We've gone over this a few times, but like Christian said, if you're just joining in, you can just type your name, your team affiliation, and question in the comments section below, and we will have someone on our staff read the question out loud. I'm going to pass it over to Jeff Connor. He is our travel sponsors account manager. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tracy. I'll be, as she said, the travel sponsor. This is basically to help you save money on hotels, rental cars through Motel 6 and Avis. With Motel 6, we can get you at least a 10% discount on the best available rates. There's plenty of locations, amenities. How it works is we use a portal. It's here in the presentation through Motel 6's website, where you can go and reserve your rooms through there. With Avis, we can help you rent small cars to 12-passenger vans, anything in between. 12-passenger vans definitely come in handy for club baseball trips. The under 25 fee gets waived. And this pricing is exclusive to Cold Club sports organizations. You would use a discount code on Avis's website. It's here listed in the presentation as well, where you can contact me for more information. And then I will hand that over to Garrett to talk about equipment sponsorship.
Just a reminder, if you want to know how to ask a question, just type your name, your team affiliation in the comments section, and we'll have Alec read them aloud to us. So as for the equipment sponsors, we have 4 equipment sponsors for the NCBA. We have Rawlings, New Balance, The Game, and Marucci for all your equipment, baseball bats, and uniform needs. So New Balance is the official footwear sponsor of the NCBA, and that's headed up by me. Players will receive 25% off on a wide variety of cleats, turf shoes, training shoes, and any other type of shoes that you may need. We will be opening an online New Balance store. It hasn't yet been finalized yet, but we're hoping to have it up within the next month. The store opening will be posted on all of our social media accounts. We'll send it out to team reps, and we'll make sure everyone knows about it. So please be on the lookout for that in the next coming days to possibly weeks. Now we have Paul Williams coming on to talk about Rawlings.
All right, I'm Paul, like Garrett said. I'm the Rawlings sponsor account manager. My job is to pretty much help you guys get great discounts on uniforms and other apparel and protective equipment. Rawlings is the official baseball of the NCBA. As members of the NCBA, you are required to use our baseballs in all NCBA sanctioned games. You do receive baseballs at the beginning of the year for being a member. With how many dingers you guys are going to be hitting this year, you're going to need some more. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me for those. They do cost $55 per dozen. We can go into more detail with that as needed. And of course, to practice to get those dingers, you guys have the option to get practice baseballs through us as well. There is a couple of ways that you can go about getting those, but the basic way is to order them by the dozen. They're $35 per dozen. Rawlings is the official uniform supplier of the NCBA as well. Right now we're in the 45% discount period. That'll run through November 30th, and then starting on December 1st, it'll drop to 35%. So now is definitely the best time to order. D1 teams are required to have 2 sets of contrasting jerseys. If you guys need to get those, Rawlings is the way to go. Then my contact information is there. Rawlings has essentially 3 different types of jerseys. The best way for me to help you out is if you go to the Rawlings My Locker website. On the site, you can see everything that's available to you. You can customize it. You can see, all the different design options. To start off, there's stock jerseys, which you can see here. They're essentially your basic jersey. Not a ton of customization options, but it's your basic jersey, and it'll get the job done. The next two different options are the sublimated and the custom jerseys. This is a custom jersey. It offers more customization options than a stock jersey, but you're still going to get that sewn on decoration. The next option is the sublimated jersey. Again, it offers even more customization options. And then the big difference is that the decoration is built right into the fabric. Something that isn't on this slide is that you guys can also get pants. Pants is something that kind of gets overlooked during a jersey order. But again, if you're getting 45% off, why not go through Rawlings? Rawlings is the official protective equipment and performance apparel supplier of the NCBA. Again, that 45% discount will apply until November 30th. December 1st, it goes down to 35%. Get those orders in early and often. The D1 and D2 teams do receive the 8 batters helmets or the catcher's gear, for being a part of the league. If you guys need any additional stuff, please reach out to me. Again, 45% off, you can't beat that. Rawlings also has performance apparel, so you get your shirts, your sweatshirts, your pants, your jackets. A big thing that happened this summer is that Rawlings now has the capability to decorate those items. That was probably the most asked question that I had my first year on the job was, hey, can I get a sweatshirt and can I put my team's logo on it? Last year the answer was no. This year the answer is yes. It's a great way to get some team swag, to get some items for fundraising opportunities, stuff like that. This is an example right here of one of the new hoodies. It's a lightweight hoodie. I'm a huge fan of it. Get that team logo on front. That's going to be looking awesome. Here are just some more popular items. You can see this one here, probably on your top right. That's another new Cage jacket. Really excited about the direction that is heading in. And then some popular equipment items. Rawlings released a new bag line last year that a lot of people had showed interest in, and I hope that continues. And then you get your helmets. Rawlings just started a line with the helmets with the flaps on the side. I think that they look awesome. And then you can get your gloves. Gloves are customizable if you go to the Rawlings My Locker page. But yeah, again, 45% off. Please reach out to me. Now we'll be bringing up the game headwear sponsor account manager, Felicia Battaglia.
Hello, my name is Felicia Battaglia. As many of you know, I'm the game sponsor account manager. I've worked here for a few years now with the NCBA, and I've had the pleasure of working with all of the teams in D1, D2, and D3. The game is the official headwear sponsor of the NCBA, and all teams must wear the game headwear to play their games per your rule book. I am the main contact for all teams when ordering your hats. The reason we do that is so it streamlines the process for the game so that there isn't 300 different people reaching out to them. It helps make sure that we can maintain our NCBA logo and it's correct, and that all things get approved by the school so there's no copyright issues and no licensing problems, things like that. All teams are required to contact me when you're ready to place your orders, whether that's a reorder, a new order, if you want to order blank hats, if you even want to go to a different retailer that's local, you have to contact me first so that we can make sure that everything is in order. I keep track of it. I keep track of all the 300 plus teams that we have to make sure everyone has the correct headwear, and I just go down and check it off as I go to make sure you guys are good to go so that no one is without hats to start the season. I handle all the invoicing, the ordering, the artwork approvals, the tracking, the shipping. I make sure that your orders arrive when they're supposed to. I give you a heads up if they're going to come late, all of those things. So you can design your hats at thegameheadwear.com. Forward your designs directly to me, and I take it from there. Once you're invoiced and the hats are paid for, that's when I place your order. Once the order gets placed with the game, that's when they put your official artwork together. I'll forward it to you, you approve it, then the game submits it to your school licensing department for the school to approve. If the school does not approve it, the hats can't be made. So that's a really important step. Once they get approved, they go into production. There's stock hats and there's custom hats. Stock hats only take 10 days for production. Custom hats take a little longer. They take 4 to 6 weeks. If they are perforated, that's the ones that have the holes in the side. I know quite a few of you have those. Here's an example. I'm not sure that you can see it, but this is a perforated hat. Those take a little longer. They take 6 to 8 weeks for production, and that's after the approvals. So if you're reordering those, you're going to want to do it sooner rather than later to get a head start on them. Stock hats is a faster way to go if you're in need. If you're a new team, you're playing in the fall, you need them as soon as possible, those situations. Stock hats only take 10 days for production. But again, you have to wait until the artwork is approved for those to go and get made. Once production's over, I'll get a ship date. I will forward that to you. I'll get a tracking number. We'll keep track of the order. Once you have them, you let me know. We're good to go, and you can play. All of our hats are priced the same for the teams across the board, so there's no confusion. You guys have a great price. They're all set at $19 a hat. That includes the hat itself. That includes the logo that you put on the front. That includes the NCBA, which is the official logo that goes on the back that you're required to have. Otherwise, there can be issues and you can get called out at a game. There can be some penalties. If you want to add an extra logo to the side or above the back NCBA logo, that's an extra $1 per hat. Otherwise, it's a straight $19 a hat. Right now, we have the early order discount period. That goes until November 15th. That's the magic number. If you order after November 15th, the sale is over and you're considered in season. So there's a good chance that you might not get your hats to start the season. We have the holidays. Production gets really backed up for all the last minute orders that happen. It takes a longer time to make them. Most of them are done overseas. So again, I encourage you to use that early order discount period that's going on now until November 15th. You get $2 off every hat. So if you order 18 hats, you get $2 off every hat. That should give you about $17 a hat. If you added an extra logo to it, it would be $18 a hat. To your price, we also add some shipping. Some schools are sales tax exempt. You might fall into that category, but for the most part, that's what you're looking at. Let me switch this. We also offer boonies through the game. These are kind of cool. A lot of teams have taken advantage of them. I think you guys saw them who went to spring training. Tracy can let you know. I think she still has some more of those. These are priced the same. They're $19 a hat. You get $2 off per hat right now. You can go to thegame.com to check those out. They also offer boonies and beanies. Those are the two off the field hats that you can go with. Those are great for parents and friends and just teammates to have for off the field. And that discount does apply to those as well. We also offer the on the field, off the hat, or on the field, off the field options for those. I'm trying to think what else I didn't cover. Some teams have home and away hats. The discount applies to those home and away hats as well, because I know some people have home and away jerseys. The hats would be the same. So you can contact me at felicia.battaglia@coldclubsports.com. I will get back to you. You can also give me a call. I often am not in the office, so email is a great way to get a hold of me. Again, I handle all 300 plus teams, so I will get back to you because I want to make sure that everyone has their hats in time to start the season. You can go to thegameheadwear.com. You can design and customize your hats as you want. You forward your design directly to me. Once I have the design, I can price you out. I can get you in an invoice. I can get that submitted to turn it into real artwork. Once the order is paid for, that's when the official order is placed. Once it's placed, that's when your artwork is made, and then we start worrying about the licensing issues. So getting it started, getting the designs put together is a really good thing to start doing now if you want to try to make that sale deadline. I heard from a lot of you so far. There's quite a few of you I have yet to hear from. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and getting things started. So take advantage of the sale and reach out to me and we'll get it going. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn it over to Alex. He's new here, Alex Verhoff, and he's the Marucci sponsor account manager.
Thanks, Felicia. As Felicia said, my name is Alec Bierhoff. I'm the Marucci sponsor account manager here. My job is to pretty much make sure that things run smooth between the NCBA and Marucci, and also promote all the benefits that NCBA players and teams get with our partnership. This is the first year that Marucci is the official bat of the NCBA, and with that, teams get 2 free bats. They get a Cat 8 and a Cat 8 Connect. Team reps have been filling out surveys to give us the information that we need to get those shipped to them, and I know there's still quite a few that don't have that done, so if you don't, please go ahead and do that as soon as possible. I've heard from some teams that have got their bats already, so they ship out pretty quick. Something cool that Marucci has done for us is set up an exclusive store for all NCBA teams and players that they can access to get discounted prices. And with that, you just go to the website that's listed below, and you can get BB core, wood, wood, fungos, batting gloves, and other accessories. Please feel free to give the link to that store to your players. And also, if you need anything, my email is alec.veerhoff@callclubsports.com. And with that said, I'm going to pass things back to Christian.
Thank you, Alec. Yeah, Marucci, we're really, really excited about having them as the new bat. I know they're giving great prices, so if you're looking to get an add-on bat, I would certainly take advantage of that store and get some bats, whether it's for you or a present for somebody else. I'm just going to take Jeff Connor's Sports Information Director slide. He is the new Sports Information Director. He's basically on all of our social media accounts, posting, press releases, all those types of things. One thing that he really requested that I say for him is that, if you have any interesting stories, get them to him. Maybe it's a cool story about one of your players. Send that our way so we can publicize that and get that on our social media accounts. So make sure to talk to Jeff, really utilize him to post things for your club on social media. Maybe it's a tournament, maybe it's a feel-good story. Make sure that you're in touch with Jeff. But he's behind the camera producing this right now. He does all the producing for the Suite 301. And he's also writing and distributing the scouting report, which is what we send out to all the teams, just going through all kinds of information that's pertinent to that time of year. So he does quite a bit. He just started in May. I think the D1 World Series threw him right into the fire. So we're really happy to have Jeff on board. But like I said, please send him any and all information that you would like us to get out to the world. That brings us to the end. We are done. We made it. We are finished. This is the closing. If you stayed with us throughout the duration of this meeting, thank you so much. I know it was a lot of information that we went over. I do want to mention that, if you missed parts of it, somebody that wasn't able to tune in tonight to the live version, we will archive it. And another thing we will do, as we've done in years past, is break it down into different sections. So if there's something that you're interested in, you can just go to that section and watch it, so that you don't have to go through the entire, looks like 2.5 hour presentation. So, but thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really do appreciate it. I hope you found it informative. I just want you guys to know if you can help us promote the league and the website. We talked about it earlier. I think the website's underutilized. Make sure you're using that website, you're going on it, you're checking it out. We put a lot of information out on there. Promote our league. When you're playing games, we see a lot of teams that are playing club teams that aren't in our league. let them know, hey, we would love to have them in the NCBA. So make sure you're out there promoting. We had all those people, sponsor account managers, come out and talk to us about our sponsors. They're in place for a reason. We want you guys to utilize them. They give you great discounts. So please, whenever you have the opportunity, utilize our sponsors given the chance. If there's an issue, please let us know. We're a small staff. We have 308 teams across the country, 45 states. We can't see everything, so we need to know if there are any issues. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to us. This is our job. We like hearing from you guys. Make sure that you're in contact with us so that we know exactly what's going on. Any questions you have, don't let them go unanswered. We had some great questions here tonight. Maybe you didn't get something answered, but you want to reach out to us to get something answered. Reach out to us. We're here for a reason. We're here for you guys. So we want to utilize you. We want you guys to utilize us as much as possible so that we can help you out if you have any questions. Keeping the lines of communication open. It's vital for a successful relationship. Keeping those lines of communication open. As I said, you need to reach out to us, but we're doing a lot of reaching out to you. Making sure your emails are up to date, answer the phone when we call you. We shoot some texts every once in a while as well, but we need to have strong lines of communication in order to make this league a success. We showed all kinds of deadlines that you guys need to meet. Make sure that you're prompt in meeting those deadlines. It's very important that you do so. And last but not least, it's a game. Have fun.